Stream is now live. Let's go. Update the Discord. I should probably keep that up. Okie should be good. Yo, it's a fizzy. Yeah, we got the mint headband on for sure. What's up, Hecka? How? Wait, Vanilla won? Dang. They're just different. Splatfest canceled. For real. I am canceling the Splatfest. Vanilla's playing spicy. They are beating the accusations of just being vanilla. Oh, the mint sure looks so cool. I'm here for it. Alright. Already been called basic. I mean, to be fair, I do think vanilla gets a bad rap for being basic. I am with them. I'm gonna be honest. Yo, the new emote. The new emote works. Let's go. Shout out to Buffalo. I had the emote commissioned. I'd love to see it. Yeah, over the next little bit I'll get some more emotes, but yeah. Very happy with how everything turned out. Looks so good. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Alright, so is there any mint chippers in chat? Should we like warm up and play a couple of Splatfests just so that we don't have to grind a ton? Because I don't know if I can go from not playing Splatfest to hitting whatever the ruler rank is just using tricolor. I might burn out. I might need a couple of games in now. So if there are any mint chippers that want to play, let me know. Shiver? I mean, respect though. Vanilla's not a bad choice. If it was vanilla strawberry chocolate, I definitely would have gone strawberry, but I gotta support mint. It's the first time I've gone against Fry. Crying in the club. Alright, it's gonna be easier just to do a quick cure. Oh, I can't change the shirt. Ow. We're going strong with the headband. Alright, is that a gear I can grab? TV's... I know you're good. Setting up a stand? Oh, that's sick. I was thinking of getting a TV stand at some point, but... it's a lot of effort. But it's very nice. Are there other Crocs that I need to give more gear on? Honestly, I'm not gonna play for too long, so maybe I do something with 2 slots. Something like this probably isn't bad. Even though the gear like clashes with itself. Alright. Let's just play a couple games real quick. Why not? Why not? And then we'll get right into reviews. For good luck. Emote. Oh. So I suffer for the juror. You're so real for that. Alright, but yeah, I was gonna play just a couple of games. I haven't touched the game in a little bit, so we're gonna do that. Yo, what's up, Sons? What's up, Celeste? Hello, hello, hello. Let's go Team Mint. That's what I'm saying. Yo, what's up, Reese? Is that the real player too? Oh no. I probably could have gone Zap, but whatever. We're Splash gamers now. Today I'm choosing violence. Oops. Oops. I am lost in the sauce. Hello? Hello? Oh my goodness. I mean, I waited so we can get the free pick. That was a really nice bomb by my teammate. I have a lot of respect for people that can time bombs on landings. I'm gonna get some paint behind those because we probably can spawn camp them and just hold their plot for the rest of the game. Truthfully. Ooh, nice shots by the Hydra. Don't film me now. Uh oh. Okay, well, I totally was just beating. So have they announced the tricolor stage? I feel like I've been so far away from Splatoon news. Do we know? I mean, I guess that we should know what it is, but no. I'm gonna be honest, I thought the Reef Slider was gonna splat that person. Alright, I need to stop getting splatted because we're getting to the point where if I die now, we could actually potentially throw. I don't want to do that. Hydra's not allowed to have fun. Oh. I'm... Oh. Wait, team actually needs me to do stuff? Is Barnacle? Oh, okay. I mean, there's a lot of water, so I feel like they can probably add like a patch of land somewhere to tricolor it up. I want to be honest, I don't think we're winning this one. And it's not my teammate's fault either. I'm taking full responsibility. We still have a chance, but we need to like... No. Oh, oh. Yeah, I got absolutely obliterated, as the kids say. My bad. To warm up the old joints. But yeah, I don't know how Barnacle's gonna play out. We will soon find out. Yeah, we're gonna ignore all this and we're gonna... So cloud. Let me switch my shoes. I do kind of want to win the game, so we'll win the game instead. I could use comeback, but we will. Alright, what am I doing? I should be running LD. Alright. Give me just a couple of games. We'll do headband, we will do utility, and we'll do this. Alright, I'm just gonna get a couple of games in. How's everyone's Splatfest been so far? I'm always surprised that they don't add like a... I feel like they should have an event during the first half. Like they have the... Wait, we said 1k? Wait, did you redeem something? I can give it back. 5 in a row? Nice. Nice. I'll let our junior do the painting. Oh, not the... let's just say it's not a good spot for him to be in. Me when I have to work with my teammates in a video game. Oh, they already dropped. Surely they don't see me. Surely they see me. Oh no, my cooler just ran out. I can't lie, I am in no mood to play Turf War currently. So we will be getting to the reviews sooner rather than later. I think spot. My shots. I want to play ranked, yeah. That's pretty fair. Oh yeah, I had to go with the mid headband. I can get that, what's the word I'm looking for? I can refund the points, no problem. Totally. Alright, our heroes need a crazy comeback to win this game. Are we capable? So far, it's looking like a hot no. No! I didn't get the pick. Yeah. No? I'm getting absolutely destroyed. You know what? Maybe Splatfest isn't for us. Alright, we're gonna go into the reviews because I do not want to play it. Oh man. Inti. Do, 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 do. I thought you liked painting. Dude, that's like the craziest part about all of this. Painting's my favorite thing in this game, but Turf War. The thing is, like, Turf War isn't interesting painting. Like, you have to balance wanting to paint with, like, other stuff. Like, that's the fun for me, is that there's, like, a giant priority of, like, here's a bunch of things that you want to do during the match. And when the thing that you want to do during the match is just paint, is miserable. But incorporating a core concept like painting in other modes is very fun. I don't know. I'll probably play through Splatfest later, but I have no desire currently. I think it's because it just like comes in, like they just throw it in, and they're like, "Hey, you want to play other modes? No, you're not doing that. You're playing Turf War." It deflates a lot of the hype. Turf War is trying a little hard to be the life of the party. Oh wait, I think there was a. Let me see first. There was a code I was trying to do yesterday from Astral, and I was unable to do it. And I think we have it fixed. So let me double check this. There we go. Nice, nice, nice. Do 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 do. All right. So I believe this was a tournament match from what I saw in the comments. Splotzo and Haggle, I'm excited. So this is Team 7, Low Ink in June. So Low Ink day 1, round 6, game 3. Alrighty. Let me get this updated real quick. Welcome in the micro. Hello, hello. Oh, the code is from someone else. Okay. So I don't know. Do they want it from there? So yeah, I was gonna say I thought Astral was a backliner, but they're a little bit over. I mean, I'm gonna generally look at it from a team perspective, but we'll probably mainly watch it from Astral's perspective because they were the one that that actually went in and did it. All points. And then this is Low Ink June 23. And the team is I can look real quick. Give me a second. I'm gonna go look at the. They gave me enough info. I can cross-reference and find the team name. I said Group C. Okay, so this is Foam Star Friends. Let's go. What a name. What a name. Alright. Me when I can type. Alright, what if we shorten ballpoint to just BP? We all know what BP is. Aside from the footage. Welcome in, Astral. Did you want me to watch it from your perspective? I'm gonna go ahead and just do that. And thank you for the follow, Astral. Much appreciated. I'm gonna look at a lot of stuff through the team lens, but just to generally navigate, I like to watch through a perspective. So, all right, cool. Thank you. Oh, real quick, I should probably go through. I'm still waking up from. I took a little bit of a nap after work that turned into a bigger nap after work, but we are still, still waking up as we can. So, interesting comp. We're running double splatling, wiper splash, which honestly, this isn't that bad of a comp. Like, I actually think double splatling is like not too bad. Like some sort of backline with another splatling, I think it's actually okay. The one thing that is a little bit absent from this is like a cooler of some sort. I'm not sure exactly the type of aggression that we're going to be able to have here. The one nice thing I will say when we're looking at comp versus comp is that we very significantly outrange their comp. So I don't think we're going to get in as much trouble. And this is splat zones. So you can get away with being like a little bit slower and everything. That is my dog, Reese. That is little Allie. She is very cute. I think she is, but she's also a bit of a gremlin because she's a chihuahua. But I love her very dearly. So yeah, like paint we're pretty chill on. They kind of outpaint us a little bit. But again, we should be able to kind of force our way in with like Inkjet. We should be able to force ourselves with the extra range. We have nice entry, like we have a lot of good specials. Even Rain can pair up with these other two specials quite well. So I actually really like our comp a lot more than what we're playing against. However, we really need to use our range to our advantage. Ballpoint, Nautilus, and Wiper all chew up the shorter range weapons, but we're definitely like the control, and the other team is going to be playing significantly faster than us. So we need to be careful not to lose to their speed. If we do get wiped at some point in this match, it's really important for us to slow down, get back control. If they're underneath us and they're set up, so like if we get wiped and then they're like set up underneath our tent, set up over, here, and they start looking to potentially like just push and just be very annoying. We just got to make sure we slow it down a little bit and find those initial picks, find specials, take these upper positions, use our range to be able to fight them. And if it takes us, like if we have to sacrifice some points to be able to get in a little bit slower, that's totally fine. We need, like, once we have control, we should be able to KO. And then, it's okay for them to retake zone with like their specials and everything and like all their fast painting. We just want to hold control of the map for like the whole game. Because getting back in, it's going to take us some time to set up. But again, overall, I like our comp significantly better. So we'll see how it goes. But it does require a specific playstyle. And one thing I will say, because we have a significant range advantage against the enemy team, personally, and I could be wrong, I'd be interested in hearing other feedback from Splatlings. I would definitely... Splatlings are really good on these pillars because there's like long lanes on both sides, and that goes for like both areas. I don't think we have to play up here. I want us to force our, like, I don't want to give them the space because we can probably hit like maybe this far or so with ballpoint. I don't think that we need to give up this much space as the backline, which Nautilus may take a more forward position as well, so it's not really a big deal. You do have a little bit of redundancy in being able to do it, but because you have so much extra range, I would like to see you, like, this is a totally fine spot for a ballpoint, but when we're matching up against like this type of comp, we can just shut them down from ever pushing through this way by setting up like right here. They do have like double suction bomb in the torpedo, so we do have to be a little bit mobile, but that's okay because ballpoint is pretty mobile. We're running, I didn't look at our build, but it's usually a lot. Yeah, it's a lot of run speed, so we're super chilling. Will I get to yours today? Let me check real quick. Probably not. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna get to it today, but we'll definitely get to it this weekend. I want to say probably tomorrow. If not tomorrow, then 1000% Sunday, but I'm pretty sure we'll be able to get to it tomorrow. So. So yeah, we'll see how this plays out at the beginning. Now we start moving to this more aggressive position and we can see, oh, that's tough. Yeah, have to be careful about bombs at the beginning there, but we can see that like if they try to go for flanks, if we're in that more aggressive position, we can like cut them off immediately. And we're able to find the dapples. I think we panicked a little bit with the sync jet. So one thing I do want to mention, and like we're not going to get value out of the inkjet because of like when we had to, because of the way that we, like where we used it. So one thing I do want to mention, and like it's unfortunate we don't get this pick initially, but the thing, like the nice thing about our positioning here is like we can just hide behind this cover. We're playing against a team of shooters, so like we don't have to worry about them like getting shots over ledges. Like they don't really have any weapons that can like do that. Yes, they do have bombs, but you just need to stall for like, and we see it here, like we just need to stall for 0.2 seconds. Our teammate's coming off of spawn and they're gonna help clean this up. So what I would mention is like the second that this person turns around and starts firing at us, like we went away from this cover, but you can also just like back up. Like they don't have enough range to like be able to hit us. So if we just back up a little bit and just like keep our focus on this person, but just get out of their like line of fire so they can't like shoot over, and just let our you know, call for our teammate to come in and assist, which they end up doing. But yeah, they always clean this. If this person's gonna try to commit to getting this pick, 10 out of 10 times your teammate that's coming in is gonna get this. So and if they were gonna hit you, that like the inkjet itself was too late anyways. Like they would have, if they were gonna hit their shots, that you would have got spotted regardless. So it's a little bit unfortunate, but again, we have a lot of redundancy and specials, so it's okay. I'm gonna go back to the team perspective because there's a lot happening here, but we should at least be able to take back our side, and we have the range to be able to paint for zone. Nice crap shots. Okay, cool. So I want to look at this entire retake from our team's just like a holistic perspective and just kind of keep an eye on stuff. So this is when you got this. Unfortunately, you died to the tri-strike. Happens. Don't need to overanalyze, but you know, just be careful. But those types of little picks happen to anyone. We're unable to get that pick. Yeah. Again, we would have had a very clean retake if we were able to get the person on. Like if we were able to spot this spotter shot over here, and then our push gets kind of slowed down. Why did our wiper drop here? Drop because of missiles? Oh, okay, I see. I mean, either way, this is okay. I think they maybe panicked a little bit, and unfortunate that they got picked, but it's Yo, what's up, Soup? We're not doing the review. Well, oops. Would you mind telling me how I know when someone's reviewed? So so what I do in the little thread of that you submit on Discord, I'll ping you on Discord when I'm actually doing the review. If you're not available during that time, it'll be recorded, and all of the full VODs get uploaded to YouTube within the day. I need to go back to some of the reviews that I've done recently and making sure that I give them that link, but I'll give you a link to the full review basically. So hopefully that helps. So I did not know when that. Yeah, no problem. I also don't know why we're dropping the way that we are. Yeah, I don't like us dropping into this pit. We don't need to go for this type of play. So one thing that I'll mention, and I think your Wiper also kind of dropped into this pit on accident when they got missiled and everything. But we don't really ever want to be in our pit when we're trying to retake. There's certain weapons, like something like a Tetra that has a lot of mobility can get away with playing around here. But like we bully them with our range. And if we know they're not like under our tent and they're not like pushing us on our main ramp, like we can just brute force with our range. Like there's a lot of like open fights that are generally going to happen in mid. I don't like us dropping and giving height advantage. Like we're giving ourselves an opportunity to get surprised when we don't need to. I think in general the team is just like a little bit panicked, but like we drop as the Nautilus and then like we start using our specials with Crab, with missiles and everything. So again, like we need to give ourselves time to potentially set up. And once we have control, it doesn't really matter that they have this massive lead. So I'm not really worried about it from that perspective, but as a team, we're not committing to, like, we don't have a cohesive idea of like how to retake. We're playing, like when you play on low ground and if we're playing against a team that's faster than us, if they like, we give them the opportunity, which is what they do twice on our, in this pit area, is like we give them an opportunity to like jump at us, like drop down and like push us. And we don't want to do that. We want to use our height as best as we can. And I feel like the whole team is pretty comfortable. Like, I think we're a little bit too comfortable playing on that right side when we're trying to retake. And I would look to reevaluate that a little bit. But again, it's totally fine to give up, like, no shots. It's totally fine to give up, like, zone in these spots, so long as we're continuing to fight for it. Like, as long as we, again, we're holding control of the map. As a team, it feels like we're overcommitting a little bit. Like if they have all their specials out, like we know that they have Suka, we see them throwing Tri-Strike. Like we could push the person that's Tri-Striking if we wanted to, but also like it's okay to just like back up, like let them use their specials. If they're gonna try Zuka from all the way back here, we have to be pushing up in order to give them value. We have the option to just drop back and then they waste their special and then they don't get value out of it. That's one of the keys when playing splat zones, is if you force the enemy team to use their specials on their side of the map, you can give them that space. Like you can, in certain cases, you have to fight for the space, but you can totally like give them that space and then use your specials after. And like using crab over here isn't like the worst idea. But when they have like all of their specials, like that means that the enemy team, like part of it is like we directly lose to their special, but the other part of it is that when they use tri-strikes in zone, like when they tri-strike zone and when they Zuka up top here, your teammates are going to have a hard time actually assisting this crab. So like while in a vacuum, getting crab up here isn't too bad, it's not ideal. I would either back up all the way. So you can either, I'll back it up just like a couple seconds. So either we just back out this way, or we can play like over here if we want to. Like we can back up and then jump back up here. We can look to crab here and we can watch this entire lane. Like we can prevent anyone from the enemy team to be able to push with these specials. And it gives us a little bit of an easier time to react to something like the Zuka, but we can also just wait out the Zuka. Again, it's understanding that we're the slower team comp. And when the enemy team is just like spamming their specials, just like it's okay to give up zone. Like it's still very early in the game. There's a lot of time left. It's okay to give up zone. It's okay to like give up extra space. Because the second that they use their specials, if they're not able to get picks, we just immediately like crash on them. So going down like this is like really bad. Because we start fighting for zone, someone ends up dropping on us, and then we're struggling. Like the rest of our team wouldn't have to commit to focusing zone as hard if the splash doesn't go down. And this flank likely never happens. But you know, we're able to save ourselves with Inkjet. The other thing I'll mention, a common pitfall with using Inkjet is like swimming forward into the enemy team and giving them an opportunity to like splat us. So like, you know, we're moving back. While this person's trying to push us, we continue to like kite backwards, which is good. This is what we should be doing. After this pick, even if you didn't see this person swimming through the ink, we don't want to move forward into enemy ink. This is just dangerous regardless. Because you were one of the main painters for the zone, and then when you end up specialing, there's not a lot of people watching the zone. So they could be like, they could be sharking and pushing in from a lot of different areas. So if we start trying to cheat forward in the mid, we leave ourselves open for these types of plays. Like visually, we can see this person moving in, but even if there wasn't someone here, it's a really good habit not to like, I'd rather us just stay here or like even move back a little bit more closer to where our ink is. But from this type of position, we can hit like all the spots that we want to hit as Inkjet, we're able to do. Like we can hit over here, we can hit over here, we can watch all of zone, and it's no problem at all. Obviously on this map, if we're inkjetting, we want to get on top of these like pillars. Because we can inkjet all the way on top of these uninkable areas, and like we're literally out of reach from their entire team unless they have specials. Even then it's still hard to hit us. But you know, we had to kind of panic use it because this person was like pushing us and we were using it as like a get out of jail special. So like in this case, we're not going to be able to like redirect ourselves back up over here. But yeah, that's one thing that you have to be really careful about. You never want to inkjet toward enemy ink. The range is ridiculous, and in a mode like zones, like you're already positioned close enough to the zone to where you can hit everything around it. I would, if your team's crabbing like this, I would look to be a little bit more aggressive with our positioning. We're just giving up a lot of space. Let me go back real quick. So when you jump in, I'm okay with you initially backing up like this. But, and I'm assuming y'all are using comms and everything. in your comms, if you're able to pop crab, like if your team's calling out that they're going to use crab, this gives us the opportunity to move forward. It's important for us to move forward because we can deny these potential flank opportunities if we position ourselves farther forward to be able to see that. And the reason I'm sorry to hear that. I don't know if that's like a very like recent thing that happened, but either way, over the last couple of years I had a dog that passed, and it's is never easy. But I'm definitely sorry to hear that. Because if we look down from a top-down view, like this flank happens because we're not painting main ramp. Part of taking an aggressive position, part of the reason he got back into Splatoon. Interesting. So if we were positioned a little bit farther forward here, if we were playing like here, or if we were playing over here, like a lot of times as a splatling, we can actually use like this grate really, really well if we need to back up. Like when we're initially using crab like this, we can, you know, paint behind this cover here, paint behind this cover here, we can get paint behind here, and we're able to start like contesting their ramp. And naturally, we should be just like painting their main ramp like this, and we should be able to spot out this type of dapple. Like they shouldn't be able to get this flank if we're like positioned more aggressive. I think that's one of the things that people often kind of forget about when they're trying to position and stuff. But like when you take more space forward, the enemy team has a harder time like getting around us. If we are playing farther back like we are, like we're just getting less paint forward, and it allows these types of drops to happen more naturally. Because like this junior could like, which again, I don't think they should be playing through here either, but their team should have a harder time retaking because we have so much more range, but we're not flexing our range right now because we're not pushing up. So we end up doing it a little bit later, but then that's when like this happens, which you get the pick, which is nice, but that's kind of like the cause of how all of this happens. I would be careful. Yeah, I was gonna say, just take a second to heal up. Again, we're playing like the more control. This is a good opportunity for us to just take a second, heal up, and then go back in. And then, you know, this is like the perfect example. We go over here, we pop Inkjet, and then we like play all the way on top of this pillar over here. This is like and they just use special, so they just use their, basically the only thing that is able to stop you in the air is like a Trizuka snipe, which even then isn't high success. But they already wasted that resource, so they're like, we can just immediately attack this. And if I'm talking to my team, I'm telling them to wait for me to Inkjet, because this should be a very clean hold from us. What I'm getting from, so what I'm getting from your play so far, I don't know how much, because what is your weapon pool, Astral, if you don't mind me asking? It feels like we're trying to just use the Inkjet as a panic button, or to like bait the enemy team when they're pushing us. But we want to find opportunity. Like it can work like that, but in most cases we want to use it to actually like be proactive. Like we're playing a very high range comp, so we don't have a lot of tools to like be aggressive and move forward with. Sorry, I need to back it up a little bit more. I just want to see what your teammates are doing to like continue to get picks. But we should be trying to control the game a lot more. A lot of reason why BP is so strong is because Inkjet's so strong. And when we have special, we immediately want to look for opportunities to be like when we're in like this kind of neutral state where like neither team has like a significant advantage. If we can take these types of positions, which we should have no trouble getting here, we should immediately be looking to pop Inkjet and like pushing with our team with it. But we want to lead the charge with our Inkjet. Oh, oops. Yeah. What's your like weapon pool? What weapons do you normally play? Because I feel like you're doubling down on like heavy. Gotcha. It feels like in a lot of these cases you're doubling down to stay alive versus being proactive. But the funny thing about that is that if you try to be more proactive and play aggressive when there's windows for you to move forward, it actually keeps you safer. That's the thing that people often, again, when I talk about something like paint, it's something that people don't always fully consider. Like when we were crabbing over here and our team wasn't pushing forward and painting forward with the crab, and this Dapple sneaks through, they sneak through because we're playing overly defensive when we're positioning here. And like when all these fights are happening here, we have an opportunity to use our jet. And because we're trying to play safe, like our teammates are taking fights without us helping. And a lot of times with ballpoint comps, like part of the reason why Inkjet and ballpoint is so strong is because Inkjet, like, so BP, it has high paint. It paints very, very, very well, especially for a backliner, but just in general, it paints a lot. So high paint means like high special output. So we get the special a lot, we can paint a lot, and like Inkjet as a special, I'm just gonna put like Inkjet strong. Inkjet does a lot of damage, so ideally, sometimes we have to use Inkjet as a panic button, and that's okay. And like we've done it a couple times this game, like successfully. I'm okay using it like that, but it isn't its ideal usage. That shouldn't be our main way of trying to like engage. Like Inkjet is like an engage tool. We want to jump on the enemy team. We want to be sitting in these types of spots, like zoning them off from pushing our team on either side. And then our team can just slow down until we have like a crab, until we have an Inkjet. And then we immediately like call for a play that like I'm gonna Inkjet over top mid and like let's push with this. Because when we play really slow, we leave these opportunities for like our teammates to fight by themselves, and we leave a lot of just like, because if we're playing back here, which in certain cases we do have to play back here, but like if we play back here and like let's say we can like paint over here and like we can paint all of this and stuff, like we leave a lot of areas for the enemy team to be able to start pushing, which is like fine. Like that's kind of how the game is played. But when we have an opportunity to push up, we can restrict the enemy team from being able to drop. That's one of the values from taking control of the map. So when we have control of the map, like if we're sitting here, like if both of our splatlings are like, you know, maybe one's positioned here, maybe one's even trying to be like more aggressive, and you know, just as a team we have like a general presence like here, and like maybe we can start moving forward. But when our team is like positioned in this type of area, them dropping is a liability. Like when we're playing in mid, they can drop off these ledges for free because like we don't have range and they have paint to be able to just swim in. But when we're able to start moving forward, it's now a risk for them to like drop out of their base. Especially with how small the map is, we can paint up the map pretty quick. And like we want, like that's a huge advantage for us. If them dropping and trying to move toward the zone is a liability, that means that they have to use their specials from like back here, which is like what they were doing in certain spots, but they didn't necessarily have to. Like we want to force them into those situations. Like, we don't want to be taking fights around zone when we have advantages to be able to avoid that. Nice shot, so. So our team takes control, and then yeah, they're just jumping, and one person got like solo missiled, the other person jumped into an enemy, which allows you to start moving forward. But this is where you, like, right now, they don't have specials and everything. This is where we need to take that setup I was talking about. Like, I want paint on their main ramp. We need sides to be painted, so like paint this pit area. We already have paint over here, so we're good with this. But force them to play behind cover. And we have to move forward in order to enable that as like something that like to be able to start doing that. But if we push up and start painting and we're with our team and we, you know, build our crab with the paint, build our inkjet with the paint, we just use missiles, so we're not going to have that. But, you know, when we have these types of specials, they can't just comfortably drop on us. Also, we outrange them, so it doesn't matter as well. But like, if I'm playing against a team that has a crab sitting in mid, like, it's really scary to like drop, because any second that I like show my intent and I commit to dropping, they can pop crab and I'm just like immediately getting punished. So we want to push up these paint lines. Again, clear their main ramp. We want to paint this. We want to get a little bit of paint behind cover here, a little bit of paint behind the cover on, so this cover here, but we should get this whole ramp, truthfully. This cover here, all of this. Like, there's just something that like, okay, we have numbers advantage. We should just like, in our head, we should just know, like, let's start taking this out. Let's start figuring this out. And depending on how much space we take, like maybe we can't get paint all the way back here. Like, the enemy team might spawn in before we can get those, and that's okay. You know, that's where you only have so much, like, you can only do so much during a time window, and this is like where painting is interesting. Because spot zones, like, there's a certain time that you're able to do stuff. And maybe in the 5-7 seconds that we have mid control, maybe we can't hit all of this, and maybe we have to paint this side as well. And then that's where you have to start prioritizing, like, what do we paint first? And I think painting around us is probably higher priority. Getting some paint, like, in this area is also, like, good. You know, like, paint kind of what's near us and then, like, slowly move forward. Sometimes you can cheat that a little bit, but that's kind of continue to be higher level stuff. But that's what we need to be doing with this time. Like, we're so concerned about playing defensive that we're just giving, like, we're not taking as much space as the rest of our team is able to do right now. And again, like, your Nautilus is doing a fantastic job here. When they have height advantage, they might want to be a little bit careful because these people might be able to drop on us. But even still, like, this is still a pretty dominant position, especially when they don't have specials. But we just need, like, imagine if we had this type of control in, like, your fizzy bombs. Or imagine we had your fall off shots behind here and they couldn't just sit back here. And then they panic and either they try to drop in one of these places or they like back up. If they drop, we probably can take care of them. If they back up, then that gives us even more space to move forward and continue to get this paint. Can you use the big swig? Sometimes. Welcome in, Toast. Right now we're doing VOD reviews, so I'm not playing the game, but I do like the big swig. I think it's a cool weapon. And so they use their specials. Like, Nautilus is such a threat that, like, they still have to use their specials like this. But when they start dropping here, two of our teammates aren't in this spot. And one of them drops, like, again, dropping in this pit's really bad. So the Splash Neo gets punished because your Nautilus can do a good job of holding that range. And then your Splash doesn't have support. Like, your team doesn't necessarily have the support it needs. But your comp has such an advantage that, like, in these types of positions at least, you'll have such an advantage that even though you're playing suboptimal, you're still at, like, your net advantage is still better than the enemy team. But you aren't leveraging your advantage as much as you could be, which is why this isn't necessarily as clean as it could be. Nice. Yeah, should be GG. So, overall, good stuff. But I think that's the biggest thing that I want to like focus on. Is like the importance of why you're moving forward. And really understanding like the value and the indirect effect of what moving forward does, especially in a comp that you significantly outrange the enemy team. Is really it's something that we want to take advantage of. Because like this is like a huge comp diff. Like we have like a significant advantage against their comp in this map mode. And sometimes we're not going to have as much of an advantage. So we need to be able to take advantage when we can. But again, overall, I think y'all generally moved up together. Y'all generally were working well together. But there's these little bit of time windows when we finally do take advantage that we're not going through the checklist to be able to. Yeah, so this is a tournament. Low Ink is a competitive tournament. So both teams should be like in the VC together, basically. So I don't know if I said that before. But welcome in, Protato. Hello, hello. So value of moving forward with advantage. Oh. So when we have an advantage, when we finally start getting picks and we can move forward, that's where we want to kind of do all of this. And like you took, for the most part, you were sitting in like what I would consider like generally good spots. Like these are good spots for ballpoint. But when we can start taking an advantage, we want to push past the zone. There was a really good video that it was translated, but there was like a Japanese player that did a video on like the line, or like the red line. But basically, like just to summarize some of the points, when you're playing something like Splat Zones, the best way to score in Splat Zones is for your team to position in front of the zone. Like you want your team to ideally be in front of the zone. And the reason for that, which like it makes sense, but like if we're fighting in this general area, like all of this fighting, all of this changing of paint, all of this is happening and the zone is like unaffected, basically. So we're like, we can take all of these fights, and even if we get picks or don't get picks, we're still scoring in the zone while all that's happening. And then they're forced to start really using their specials in order to like break our setup. Especially again, the comp mismatch, because we have so much more range than them, they have to use specials effectively. But the other thing that this does, so this helps us avoid flanks. Like flanks were definitely a big problem, which like with their comp, they need to flank. But like these flanks over here and some of these flanks over on the left side, our teammates did a good job of like sniffing it out, which again, this goes back to what I was saying, where like, this is like not a good retake zone. Like you only need it, like you only use it when there's like a really good opportunity. Generally, the only time people actually like drop this way and retake, if they have something like Tetros or maybe Dapples that can like take cover pretty fast because they're very mobile. But it's not an ideal situation. A lot of times I only see people drop in this area if they're taking like a fight with someone underneath the tent. So they'll have someone like drop while someone else on their team is dropping from another location, and you're like hitting them from 2 directions, so they can't look at both. But this is like anything that happens on the left side needs to be like very heavily coordinated, because the second that you drop, you're such a liability. So you need to get value like basically like while you're dropping. Or else like if you're just stuck down here, like you're not in a great spot. But especially these flanks over here, like we can't deal with them when we're positioned back here. We can't do anything about that. But if we push in front of the zone and we start painting this area, then they no longer have the option to just drop on us. And even if they force trying to drop over here, they're looking at either a Nautilus or a ballpoint staring at them, and they're not going to win that fight. Or even a wiper, or even a splash with height advantage. In most cases, they're never going to win that fight. But we have to force them into these uncomfortable positions. Where like this game feels a lot more fair than it has any right to be. And we have to know, like with our comp, we have this massive advantage, at least for this map mode. So we want to take advantage of that effectively. So it helps us avoid flanks. It also helps us build specials faster. Because if we start moving up and we start painting, you know, the sides of the map, we start painting this main ramp, and like this area as well, we might need to get paint as well. But like if we're hitting all of these areas with paint, either, you know, either one of these weapons that do a pretty decent job of painting, but specifically the ballpoint and the splash, they can use this paint when they start moving forward to get their special and aggressively like build their special. So that's what I want you to, like, that's what I want you to take from like this. Like, I think you generally played it okay, but like we need to be like pushing our advantage whenever possible. The other thing that I would say, and that's like kind of the more team thing, but I think in general, like you are like either scared to move up or we're not seeing the value here. Oh yeah, the final thing that I want to say is that we force enemy specials off the zone. Basically what I'm trying to say with this is that instead of them being able to throw their stuff at the zone, which technically they can do, but they can't like follow up on it. Like if they just throw tri-strikes on zone and they can't move forward, then like they're just gonna waste it. Your team paints over it and they're not gonna retake with just the tri-strikes. But in general, like they have to use their tri-strikes, they have to use their Trizuka, they probably have to Wavebreaker in spots. Like they have to use specials from like back here. And if they Wavebreaker from here, if they Trizuka from here, like they can't take the zone back with it. They may be able to take some space, and that's where like we hold these positions against them, and then the second that they use their special, we can retreat. Like we sit here long enough, and in certain cases we can find picks. Like we have burst bombs, we have fizzy bombs, we have missiles, like we have specials. We still have ways to actually like win these fights from here, and if we win a fight from here, in most cases that's enough to like close out the game. But even if they use their specials and we don't have like the timing windows don't align and we don't have our specials and we don't find picks, then they use their specials back here and we either back up this way or like, you know, maybe we have to drop out one of these ways. But we can still hold zone and we can play this neutral position where enemy team sitting over here, where, you know, this common stalemate that happens on Hagglefish zones. But they've already used their specials, so they don't have specials, and this was a spot we saw in the middle of the match, and you have your inkjet ready. So you can use your inkjet without having to worry about getting punished by their specials. And that's where, if we have an inkjet and they're fighting without specials, the enemy team, this should be a very free fight, just with inkjet alone. And we force these opportunities because we're forcing them to use specials back here. Out, like off the zone. So that's what I mean when I say forcing specials off the zone. Is that once they do make it to the zone and they need to contest the objective, they don't have the resources to be able to fully take it back. So that's a really important concept when it comes to something like splat zones. The other thing that I did want to mention were your inkjets. Inkjet is very strong right now. We want to be proactive. Like, it does work as a panic button. So try avoid. No, how do I want to phrase this? I guess don't rely on it as a panic button. Because it seems like you're waiting for someone to push at you to, like, I can just see from the way your brain is looking at the game that you're not planning on using inkjet until someone on the enemy team forces you to use it. Oh, they're in my range, so now I'm going to use inkjet to make sure that I stay alive. And we don't need to do that. We want to be the very, like, when we have control of the map, we want to try to be as dominant and force the enemy team to be in as awkward of spots as possible. So we don't, like, it's okay to use it as a panic button if you're, like, fighting for space, like aggressive space, or, you know, if they do get through and you have to use it as a panic button and you can stay alive and even potentially get a pick on that flank, then that's great. But the biggest problem with this here and using it as a panic button is the fact that, like, we have to use it as a panic button because we're not moving forward. This is like the cause and effect, basically. Like, why are we using this thing as a panic button? It's because we're not moving forward. We need to move forward when we have an advantage. If we move forward, then we get pinked and we force the enemy team into awkward spots, and they're not just flanking us on either side for free. It's a really important concept. And again, there's teams that are a lot better than me that do not play like this. So if you can really nail this down, like, you basically, like, unless you get heavily out mechanicked by, like, a low ink team, you're gonna win every zones match and during low ink if you just, like, make this tiny adjustment with your play. And obviously you're gonna have to adapt a little bit depending on the situation. You know, like, you're not always going to play against a comp that you heavily outrange. You're probably over time going to see a lot of ball points that you're playing against, and they're looking to do the same thing. And that's where the game gets very interesting. But when we do have advantages, if we are doing our best to take advantage of them, we clear all of these zones matches. Yo, what's up, Sage? Do you think 2.4k peak is enough for top 100? Yeah, absolutely. I got top 100 and I was like 23 something. I think 24 should be like top 50 plus. But can't you look? I think you can look at previous Splatfest. Well, it also depends on if you're, like, which region. It might not be for the Japan region, the Takaroka or whatever. But yeah, Western, no, you're chilling. But you can double check on the Nintendo app. You can check and see what top 100 was before. But yeah, overall, like, we did okay. Oops. We did okay, but, like, it could have been so much better. Like, this is how it should have played out. But we shouldn't, like, this game shouldn't have lasted as long as it did. There was an opportunity, there was, like, 2 opportunities for us to, like, KO. And the way that we did KO is because the enemy team was, like, they were panicking a little bit too hard. It was less that we outplayed them. Like, y'all did a great job, don't get me wrong. But they outplayed themselves more than, like, we forced them into these really bad spots. But overall, really good stuff, you know? Hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions when it comes to like ballpoint stuff, please let me know. Again, like this is like those types of things that I talked about is why splat zones I love so much, because a lot of teams don't try to optimize the way that they retake, like the way that they hold after they retake. And if you're thinking about these things, like you're gonna always have an advantage against whatever team you're playing against. That's why whenever we play against like, a lot of times if we're gonna upset like a team in tournament that's like seeded better than us, we always, like, not always, but like we'll usually take like the zones game. Partially because we have like a really good E-leader, and E-leader works really well in zones. But we think about zones a lot better than most teams. There's some maps that I significantly struggle on, and I have to work on optimizing on those maps specifically. But there's some maps that like we just dominate because we have a better understanding. Even if we're playing against a better team, we understand and we can optimize a lot better than they can. And if you're looking to compete, that like you want to be able to find those advantages. You don't want to just show up to a map mode and be like, well, we're just gonna like outplay them. Like we want specifics and have details of like what we're doing to accomplish that. And when you're playing in like low ink and stuff and other low level tournaments, people aren't people aren't doing that. So if you're thinking about these things actively, you'll have a huge leg up on everyone else. 125. No, you're totally fine. I appreciate you joining, and yeah, hopefully that helps. I'll get you the full VOD link probably later tonight once I'm done with the stream. But yeah, definitely take care, have some sleep, and enjoy the Splatfest. Alrighty, let's get back into it. So, that was a really good review. It's nice to be able to talk about things in Splatoon that like, for like a mode like Splat Zones, that like, I get to kind of talk about things that I like why I really enjoy Splat Zones as a mode. You think I should relearn Machine or find a new weapon? I think you should do whatever you enjoy. If you are trying to move away from Machine because you don't feel like it can compete anymore, like, that's not the case. Machine's totally fine right now. Like, there's other styles that are also strong, but there's a certain advantage that Machine has going over ledges and having this massive hitbox over ledges, that very few other weapons can really do the same thing. So like if you pick Machine because it's like, oh, it was strong before and like I'm not getting as much value, like if you're not interested in the weapon, then I would recommend finding a new weapon. But if you like Machine, but you know the nerfs make people like scared of wanting to keep playing it, then at that point I would say, you know, stick with it. The nerfs aren't as bad as people think. Fist bumps every round. Let's go. Let's go. Alright. Next is Cursed Electric, but what is their... I don't know what their Twitch name is. Maybe their name in game is gonna be something closer. I don't know if I've seen a Cursed Electric in chat. If so, then my bad. What? I only did a few numbers. Oopsie. Wait, they only gave me a few numbers. Oh no. Yeah, there's only 12. There's only 12 of the 16 that I need. So we'll swap off of it, but if they're able to provide that code, then we'll jump back to them. Unfortunate. Yo, what's up, wieners? Hello, hello. How you doing, gamer? Are you gonna be playing in the Splatfest? If so, what team did you pick? Also, just in general, how you doing? Hope all is well. We just copied and pasted. Slusher. And then this is open with duo. Just gonna put duo. And then what rank is this? Do they have that info? I don't know. I'm pretty sure they're S plus, but I'm not sure. So we're gonna leave it just as open with duo. Learning this weapon right now, I want to know what I can be doing better. Oh, I didn't even put the actual weapon itself. My bad. This is Slosher Deco specifically, which is a very interesting cut. S plus 10. Oh, perfect. Thank you, Sage. Appreciate you. Cool, cool, cool. Okay. I would say in general, something like the Slosher Deco is a little suboptimal currently. Not that you shouldn't use it, but it's like, it is like harder to use. If that makes sense. It is a little bit more difficult in order to get as much value. Yo, Reese, thank you so much for the sub. I appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's very, very kind. Very much appreciated. I think you've played against him before. Name looks familiar. Oh, I think I've definitely done a review with a Sage in the past, but if I haven't played against them, I feel like they're tag. I feel like I've seen before. Either way, do you get paid for Prime subs? Yeah, they I think it's like a 50-50 cut or something. So yeah, you definitely support me with like the Prime subs, and I'm very, very, very appreciative of that. Yeah, if you have like Prime and you don't use it, like you're missing out on like supporting any creator, which again I'm very appreciative of it, and I'm trying to work on continuing to get more emotes to be able to help with that. But yeah, just supporting any creator with that Prime sub is super, 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 super important. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. So with Slosher Deco, Slosher is really good on this map because there's a lot of elevation, so we can fight around ledges. Like there's a lot of ledges to fight around. 6 a.m. vibes, holy. Like 24/7 power. Nice. That was really good for a Splatfest, holy. But yeah, the main weapon itself does really well on this map. There's a lot of value for us to go over like this ledge, basically any ledge, like going over this ledge, shooting up on ledges, we can do very well. There's just any elevation, there's an opportunity for Slosher to get value. in certain cases, using something like line marker, it's good very situationally. And this is part of the reason why, like, I think Zipcaster is okay on bucket. It's not great, it's not bad. It's fine. I think Tri-Strike is a little bit easier to use on average, comparing it to the normal vanilla slosher. But the bomb is like kind of the big difference between the two kits, where like line marker is very situational. It does get a lot of value and it does combo well with slosher, but on average, that bomb is going to be a lot more. You're going to be able to get more value on average with that bomb on like this map mode, for example, than with line marker. I would say with line marker, like, I think elevation is like the key to getting value out of line marker. You want to have height advantage. Oh yeah, angle shooter. I always forget what the actual name is. I always call it Markiplier. No, that's a good point though. The angle shooter. So using angle shooter when you're retaking is going to be very difficult, which is part of the reason why I don't love it. But when you have advantage, if you have height and you're like fighting the enemy team, you can get a lot of value out of it. So like, it's not to say that it's like bad or useless or whatever the case, but on average, if you already have like advantage and stuff, it's, I don't know. Line marker can be tough to get value in certain spots, especially for zones. Like on something like TC, sometimes the tower rider can use line marker because they're out of range to be able to help their team in other ways. So it's like an interesting way of still getting value and still being able to help your team because you can leverage the significantly long range. You can still do that in zones, but it's not as useful. So like, just again, on average, we're not getting as much value with line marker, but there's definitely times where it's still very valuable. So, you know, obviously we're using the kit that we have, so we want to make the most of it. Oh yeah, the other thing I wanted to mention. Are we running? Okay, we're running what's that called? Opening Gambit, which is very interesting. But I like we'll go back a little bit. I like the aggressive start with your build though. So the one thing I do want to mention, just comp versus comp, we have a lot of paints and we have the ability to go over ledges, which is cool. They have a lot of paint as well. Leader is going to be very problematic. Leader isn't great on this map, but it's like not bad. The biggest thing is that their leader is going to be sitting on their grate in most cases, and we have to be careful about pushing over top. The nice thing about this map is that we can approach from a lot of different sides, and we can just overwhelm them with specials. And this is one of the reason, or like this is one of the examples where like we can get a ton of value. Like Tri-Strike works well against leaders, but like Zipcaster is very, very good against E-Leader. Sometimes getting good angles with Zipcaster can be a little bit tough in on this map specifically, but we can look to really pressure this E-Leader. So I'm looking to use our special against the E-Leader specifically, and just because if we can take care of the E-Leader, it's a lot easier for the rest of our team to start pressuring. And we have double splat bombs, which gives us a immense amount of pressure when we want to move forward. So if we can take care of the leader, I like our comp quite a bit compared to theirs. But Tri-Stringer, it can go over ledges a little bit, but it's going to have a tough time against, you know, it's going to get outranged by something like E-Leader, and it's going to be getting pressured from the sides from like a blaster and stuff. So overall, I do like our comp a little bit more, but situationally, we have to be able to try to make as much value as we can with it. But, you know, we have opening gambit, so we're going to be a lot faster than enemy team. And I like us going for the aggressive play at the beginning. So, you know, we're playing to our build, which I like. We are bowling. Yo, let's go. Nice, nice. A little bit dangerous with the leader there, but it's okay for us to go down. Yeah, Zipcaster, we'll let you cook. And we're gonna go back to the Zipcaster. There's a lot of good stuff here. Okay. So his opening was very, very good. We get the early pressure. Oops. A couple things that I do want to mention. So like taking this kind of fight when the enemy team is still looking to push forward and the E leader's down, I'm good with this. Like we get our picks, we're just significantly outplaying the enemy team, which is good. But like going for these fights when leader is established, like you should get splatted here, which still is a very net positive for your team. But I think the big thing that I want to mention is like I feel like in a lot of cases we don't have to take fights. So if we look at this from an overhead, we don't necessarily need to take fights from like this far forward. The reason why it can be, it's like, it's fine. And obviously if we're able to outskill our opponent, then like we can start looking to like spawn camp basically, which is like very much advantageous for us. Because a lot of times traditionally when we're playing on this map mode, we're usually not going to be pushing past like this kind of area. If we can get underneath, so like you get to a point where you're able to get underneath the leader, which is very strong. But if your teammates are going to try to push up and help you, like they're going to be fighting in the open and they're going to have a hard time supporting you directly. That's one of the potential disadvantages for being as aggressive as you are, but like you're overheating right now, which is like totally fine. Like you're popping off. So, you know, pop off. The one thing I do want to mention, if you are going for this type of Zipcaster play, I actually don't know how some of the Zipcaster pathing works outside of like this area over here. I don't know how that actually works. I'd have to mess with it in Recon. I think I'm pretty sure these are solid objects. I think you can actually jump to them, but I could be wrong. Maybe not. This worked for a time. Oh, does it not work anymore? Okay. Gotcha. I did not know that. That's interesting. Thank you for sharing. Because yeah, the other thing I was going to mention is like you can totally like just... All the back walls don't work. Okay. Good to know, good to know. Oh, wait, these walls don't work? Wait, can you not Zipcaster to slick areas? Or are you talking about this wall over here? Are you saying like this doesn't work? The right one? Okay, gotcha. Gotcha. So you had a plan in mind, and yeah, I guess I got patched out or whatever, so that provides more clarity. But the one thing I will say in the spot, which they should have spotted you already now, but you know, like good movement and everything, and like you're playing underneath the ledge. Leader definitely can hit you where you're positioned currently, but yeah, overall, like this isn't like, I mean, you stall for a really long time and you give your team a lot of like space. So overall, this isn't too bad. Or like, it's not even bad, it's just good. Mechanically, this is just a really good play. But if it's more of an overheat, I'm totally fine with it. But traditionally, we don't have to necessarily push as hard as we did there. Take with a grain of salt. You're fine. You're fine. When we're looking for these types of flanks on the walls, I like your patience initially. Are you running drop roller? Interesting. Me have Zipcaster, so I kind of see like why you would do it, but interesting. Like this is a spot where like having a splat bomb would be massive because these people are gonna start moving forward, and you can throw it off of the shield and probably get a free double. But you know, obviously we're playing the kit that we have, so I like your patience allowing them to move past you. One thing I would mention though, and this is just a minor like pathing thing. So there's two decision points here. The first decision point is that we just saw a leader place a mine down. We can't really push them, but positionally. So let's go back one more second. So if we want to take this kind of fight, taking it out in the open like this is very scary for the exact reason that we get punished for, because leader can just watch us over here. Leader's traditionally going to sit over on this left side, so if we're sitting on the left wall, or if we're playing on the left side, they have an easier time playing with us. Even if we drop here, leader's probably still going to get a pick on us. So based off of the map geometry, they have less angles if you end up playing this right wall, and if you drop off the right side, like it's not as big of a deal, and there's still a chance that you don't just get spotted by leader. But like playing this left side's okay. I'd probably recommend like bumping up against this ledge right here and just like move into this area so you cut off the angle from this leader. You have a lot of range with your bucket, so you can still hit people that are like sitting here. And the way that this kind of plays out, like when these people push, they don't have an easy time. Like they still have to like stop a little bit in order to deal with this person. So you have plenty of time to play closer to this ledge here and still be able to hit them with your weapon. So I would just be a little bit careful about like being as out in the open, you know? The other thing that you could say is like when they use the bomb like this, like you could probably also play on like just sit on this wall like slower. Like there's a good chance that you don't salvage this push alone, like hitting 2 while also having to fight the sniper. So if you want to, you can sit on this wall and slow down and wait for the bubble to go out, and then you can fight this isolated leader. Is like another approach potentially. Again, you can kind of evaluate the different plays, but I don't like us just fighting out in the open. If you want to fight the people that are pushing, then fight near a wall to cut off that angle. But otherwise, yeah. So we're slowing down to find an angle on the leader. Again, yeah, there's a couple of things to dissect with this. I'm fine with you wanting to paint your special and get your special, but the first thing that I would say, instead of painting over here, you can move closer to the zone and there's still a ton of paint left in your base. So you can paint and still position in like a generally good spot. It's a lot easier to retake over on this side. Switch to hero shot because you speedrun. Interesting. That's sick. Your slosh is still very good. But we have to be careful. Like we have our special, but it's important for us to like set up for our special. Like we still need pressure from this left side in order to find an opportunity to get onto the leader. Like part of the problem with the way that we approach with Zipcaster, I don't know what's happening here. I'm not sure why our Tri-Stringer is playing as aggressive as they are. But just kind of Zipcastering in when like the rest of their team just kind of exist. Like there's no other threats that the enemy team has to worry about other than like this Tri-Stringer that's like stuck, you know? So when you Zipcaster in like this, again, you're sitting out in the open and you just leave yourself open to, you know, potentially Charger, but that's a hard shot for them to hit. Like Blaster, which is what ends up spotting you, has an easy time. And the 2 arrow sprays, like they have a harder time hitting you, but if you just like jump out in the open like this, like they still have an opportunity to jump at you. But I think you can just naturally start moving toward this ramp. Instead of pathing this way, you can path over here and you can start your Zipcaster from a different vantage point, which should make it a little bit easier. The other benefit of pushing this way with your team is like you can help them paint. So then when your teammates and eventually this Tri-Stringer after they go down, when they're trying to swim in, like you want to get like you can help paint this area over here so that they have an easier time just swimming in off spawn. And that also enables your Zipcaster, because your Zipcaster is able to, like, you know, you're Zipcastering into them and you have your juniors throwing bombs, or you have Tri-Stringer poking at them. Like, you want these additional threats on your team, or like maybe you play and combine it with the whale. Like, I think we're playing a little bit too fast here. And there aren't additional threats on the map in order for us to play around, and now we're potentially like kind of staggering and stuff. And especially on a map like Zones, it's really important to, like, I like that you see Zipcaster as an opportunity to help retake, but we just pushed it a little bit too far forward. Nice, it's just the one left. Again, I would be a little bit careful. Like they're distracted with the enemy team, but this is like a couple of times. Like we're pushing up kind of fast here. And like if we're listening to the audio, like again, we can kind of tell this person's distracted, so it doesn't really matter. But there's been a lot of times just I've seen it almost as like a habit now where we're just like out in the open, and like, you know, this is where like Squid Surge is like a liability in a way, because we're just stuck in the air. And against things like Leader, against things like Blaster, we've been punished quite a bit this game. So I want us to be a little bit careful. In this spot, we're seldom gonna get punished for doing it, but I want to be mindful. And again, pushing up here, like you should, against better players, you're gonna get splatted. Taking this type of angle. Like, I'm fine with you sitting in this type of spot, but I don't want us to be doing it from, like, I don't want us to path this way to get here, you know? Like, just play through mid, basically. Yeah, with randoms on your team, it's definitely, like, it's hard to predict what they're trying to do. The other thing that I would say, just as an idea, is, like, because your team's gonna have a hard time helping you fight on the ramp. So if you wanted to play with your team around mid, like you can sit up on their grate area. Like you can sit on top of their stage and start sloshing over top of like their way to get back in. That's a very common thing where Slosher gets a lot of value. Especially against their weapons. They don't really have a good way to play around the walls all that well. So we can get a lot of value playing on stage, but we can also play on top of this area. And as they start pushing up, we can basically close up this little choke point area here with our Slosher shots. So we don't necessarily have to play this aggressive, because we have a harder time using our advantage. We're going back. I guess this game we all learned about the Zipcaster rules outside of the map. But I do really like that you're like focusing on getting to the back line this game. I think you understand like your role and what you can do as a player to make the life of your team significantly easier. And again, your mechanics are super solid. Yeah. Like this type of patience I really like. I don't like us dropping like this though. We're overheating a little bit. We should probably be dead here. But I really like your patience in a lot of these spots and just keeping an eye on like what's going on, like all around the map. Your general awareness of different flanks and people coming on from all the different areas. It's like it's hard to navigate on this map of like, you know, people flanking from left, from right, they're potentially behind us, they're trying to push in front of us. Like you're doing a good job of like navigating this, but we're leaving ourselves very vulnerable when going for it. Like there's certain cases where we end up playing patient and we find nice clean opportunities, but then sometimes we force a little bit. Nice. We don't necessarily have to Zipcaster here, but I'm here for it. I got no problems. When we're holding control of mid, we don't need Zipcaster to stop the leader, because leaders then have a hard time getting value when they're not set up, which is why people usually don't play leader on this map. Like once you're set up, it's like fine, but getting set up is like really difficult. But yeah, like a lot of times in these spots we're just very what am I looking for? We're just accepting too much risk playing out in the open. I think that's something that we really want to be more mindful of. And in certain spots we are, but in certain spots we're just kind of like we're just taking a fight like across the top when they have like blasters, they have leaders and everything. Yo, SKT Haas. Hopefully I pronounce that SK Haas. I'm not sure. I'm gonna say SKT Haas. But thank you so much for the follow. I really appreciate it. Hope you're doing well. Hopefully you're having a nice Splatfest. Hopefully you chose mid chip, but whichever team you chose, I hope you have a good time. So welcome in. But that's one thing I would be very careful about. Is like you're definitely the significantly better player this game. Some of that you're showing through like proper patience and flanks, but some of it we're forcing fights and showing potential bad habits that we don't want to have in like future games. But overall you played this very well, and I really like your just you're very like quick moving, you know. You do a good job of, you know, this is a target in mind that I have, and you know, this is where I'm trying to go. But I do think sometimes the pathing that we take is a little suboptimal. But in general, like I can see you constantly you have a holistic game plan of like, I really want to attack this charger, and we're putting this as like our prime focus for the match. This is like really good. I'm happy, more so than any criticisms I'm going to provide. I'm really happy that we know our role and how we approach this match like really well. And like the creativity and the way that we have angles, the speed, and just like, I'm just, you know, I'm going to make a decision and I'm just going to commit to that. Like there's very little hesitation in what you're trying to do. And all of those are really important. It's hard to like not necessarily teach that, but it's hard for people to get to a point where they're comfortable doing that. So the fact that you're already ahead on those things is like really good. The couple of situations that I would like to see you improve on, I think the first thing is I'm just gonna say the overheat. We're definitely playing German qualifiers for the championship? Yo, good luck, good luck. Is there a stream for that? I know there's a French championship that's happening as well this weekend. And like, I don't know if any of those things are being streamed. It would be cool. And I would like to watch a stream. I don't know if these things are actually being streamed. Double Productions? Oh, okay, cool. That makes it really easy. I know sometimes with those like regional tournaments, there's like very special streams that I sometimes can't find. Yeah, no, if you have any links, like feel free. If you're, I don't know if you're in like the Discord, like the Reborn personal Discord for like the stream. But yeah, feel free to like post all of those links. Yo, take care, Reese. Thank you so much. Nice to see you. Enjoy the rest of your weekend in Splatfest. And like I said, we'll get to your review hopefully tomorrow, but if not, definitely Sunday. I ended up being a little bit late on the stream today, so I might not stream tonight as long as I was hoping for. But yeah, we'll definitely get to it this weekend. EBTV might be doing the French stream. I don't even know what that is. That's good to know, but yeah, I'm gonna have to keep an eye out in the morning for me and see if like Kiver or one of the top French players, if they have the stream. Because sometimes they stream on like YouTube, sometimes it's Twitch, sometimes it's hard to tell. But yeah, I'll have to look. But I'm super excited. There's so many lands and stuff happening this weekend. So like selfishly, there isn't a lot for me to play in. But there's a lot of really cool stuff to watch. But yeah, in these scenarios, like we overheat quite a bit. I think one of the probably biggest problems with this is like when we do decide to take like aggressive fights, which in certain cases is like totally fine. I'm gonna put it as like just a slightly separate thing. But yeah, sometimes we overheat. Again, if we're playing open and when we get like a triple or something, it's like, of course, I'm gonna move forward. I'm totally fine with it. If this was like a structured like competitive match, obviously we'd restrain ourselves a little bit. But you know, pop off. You obviously like you also like determine that you like out mechanic basically their entire team, so you're gonna take those fights and take that advantage. I'm totally fine with that. But one thing I would say with your like, I want you to be mindful of your positioning when you decide to engage. You want to avoid being in the open. Being in open. There was a lot of times where like you're autopiloting, like when you're climbing up these walls, like you're autopiloted of just like, I'm gonna squid surge all the way into the air. And like, I'm just playing out here. And like, if you're flanking around an E-leader sitting here or here, then that's like less of a threat because there's not the E-leader watching you do it. But it just felt like you were just naturally like autopiloting like onto this block, jumping up, and I'm just like taking fights just out in the open, and you just leave yourself open to like a lot of punishes against the blaster getting a lot of spots on you and the E-leader getting a lot of spots. So I want us to be a little bit more mindful. Even if we want to go for these types of plays, like there was times where you were really patient and I really, really, really like that. But even if you want to go for these types of plays, like try to, you know, find this type of wall, like hide behind this wall so this person can't get an angle on you. Like if you leader's sitting over here or up here, we don't want to give them an easy opportunity to splat you. The other thing is like if you want to take a fight on these people, it might be better to approach from like a wall like this. Which if they have a leader, they can still snipe you from here. So we still have to be careful about this. But there's other ways for us to take a fight in this area without having to be like directly behind them or directly on them. Again, when you're doing that against like an E-leader that has a hard time defending itself, then that's fine. But when you're doing it to the rest of their team and E-Leader's covering for them, that's where you get yourself into trouble. You just leave yourself open in a lot of cases. And in other parts of the match, like you're doing a good job of like, you know, going for a play and then immediately repositioning, just so that you're less likely to get punished. But there's a lot of times where you're just like out in the open. The other thing that I would say is like, we want like responsible pathing. I think where we were going in a lot of spots makes sense. I think how we were getting there, and some of this goes back to the engagement, but also you have to think about how we get there. I think you understand the where, but we don't understand, or we're at least not respecting the how. And like just pushing up when your end goal is to like sit here and you're like dropping down and coming back around this way. Like there was 2 times here during this path where you should have gotten splatted by the E-Leader. Unfortunately, you're able to dodge their shots, but like you should just get splatted. Like if your end goal is to hold this ramp, again, I think you probably can do it a lot safer just back here. Or again, playing up here and playing over these ledges. But even if you want to play here, I like the trickery in certain spots. So I'm okay with it in certain scenarios. But just take a path that like makes sense. Realistically, to be something like this. But just don't give the leader any opportunity to like splat you on the way. So that's kind of just like the major thing. Again, I think this match you heavily out-mechanic the enemy team, so it's less of a problem, but yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm imagining our stats are, yeah, very, very expected. But like when you're in fights, overall you do a very, very, very good job. We just need to be careful about like how we're approaching stuff, because as we play against better players, we're going to get punished and for some of the decisions that we decide to make. Overall, good stuff. I always appreciate the hyper aggro fearlessness that some people are able to play with. It's a really important skill to like hit top level. Maybe you stream the games. I need to ask team. Inton Gang, a friend of yours is streaming. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, no, I'll keep an eye on Dapple Productions, and I appreciate that. But if you do have any other POVs, I'd, you know, love to watch y'all play. you know, just watch all of your matches. But if as long as there's like a bigger stream, I'm super interested. I know there's a lot of good German players. I don't know like fully all of them, but I know there's quite a few that are quite strong. Alrighty, let me. I believe the code we got before Electric was able to give us a new code. I'm playing. You had a whole busy weekend, I see. That's very exciting. It's always nice when there's a bunch of like weekend tournaments. Dynamo, let's go. Alright. This might be a little bit of a shorter stream today. This might be the last review that we do for today, just because probably it wouldn't be bad to get sleep now so that I'm well rested and I can have a nice long stream for tomorrow. And also there's a bunch of morning tournaments with EU and stuff that I want to check out, so we'll get through this and we'll talk through this. I'm excited to see more Dynamo play and zones. Y'all are spoiling me with all the zones gameplay. Appreciate that. Appreciate that for real. Alright. First, they're playing a Dynamo. And this is X. Oh yeah, we can see that. Set as well, 1900. Very, very cool. Want to be comfortable in the 2K range? Yeah, I feel that. That was my initial goal when I first like got X rank back in like Splatoon 2. It was like just trying to hang with everyone else, which starting off is definitely like, it takes some time to get there, so I definitely resonate with that sentiment. Solid game for me in terms of kills. I feel like my positioning was off, unsure of what I could have done better. Okay, awesome. So some good stuff, some bad stuff. This seems like a nice well-rounded review. I'm excited for it. Before I start, I'm going to ping them, which maybe they'll be here. We will jump into it. Oh, shoot. Sorry, I have a couple things happening in the background. Alright. Sunday you can stream? Playing with 4 friends? Gotcha. Nice, that's nice. Yo, welcome in, Curse. Hello, hello. Alrighty. So we are Dynamo. And yeah, we just looked at a Hagglefish zone, so a lot of the stuff that we talked about before is definitely gonna be able to apply. But it'll be a little bit different as Dynamo, so this will be very interesting. I feel like once we get in as a Dynamo, I feel like we can get a ton of value. I'm not sure how we want to approach the early game. I'm interested to see our build. Alright, so we're running Comeback, which I think makes sense. Like, I know some people just run like QR on like Dynamo, which is like fine. I got you, Sage. But I don't know, early on, my two ideas, I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I've ever seen a Dynamo on Hagglefish zones. There's like nothing against it. I don't have a lot of like data points to think about it. But if I had a couple of ideas, either we're gonna play back here and just like poke at them with our vertical flicks, or like sitting over here and poking. If they start pushing, we can use our horizontal and like, you know, potentially punish them for running in. But we're probably going to be playing it pretty slow. The other idea that we have, if we want to go for a more aggro playstyle, is either we can flank around here. Realistically, it's probably like we'd have an easier time flanking this side. Because the backline, because they have like a backline, they're going to have a harder time like hitting us. And the other thing as a Dynamo specifically is like we hit over ledges really well. And a lot of times people are going to want to sit here specifically. So if we flank around and get into position to hit this person, we can actually catch a lot of people off guard. So I don't know if we want to opt for the more aggressive play style or just play it a little bit slower until we get our specials, and like tactical like makes a lot of sense. So we can play it pretty slow. Our team doesn't necessarily, even though we have like a lot of short range stuff, Splash Neo doesn't love being super aggressive. C Junior doesn't love being super aggressive. Viper Deco doesn't love being super aggressive. So I would probably opt to be taking the more like I'm going to look to, if I'm the Dynamo in this game, I'm probably looking to play sides and like punish these ledges and stuff. We'll see how it plays out, but yeah, that's kind of the big thing here. Infinity Cup, gotcha. So we'll see how we end up playing it out. This is just very interesting. We have good specials. Wavebreaker we can push with. Cooler will help us with our push. Tri-Strike will help us get in. Missiles, like we have good specials to play with, but our timings are going to be really important. So I'm interested to see your positions. Yo, 100 times fight. Good luck. I want to see how we're gonna position and how we play with our team are kind of the two themes that I see for this game. And we can outrange a lot of their team with like our Dynamo. And depending if we can find their backline, we can potentially punish them with these like side flanks. So we'll see how it goes. But I'd be fine playing for an early cooler, honestly. Just take it slow. I like it's a very cute setup with your sprinkler. Yeah, teammates go down. I wouldn't push too much. I'd get cooler down. Yeah, this is great. I probably would have thrown cooler slightly farther forward towards zone. If I'm not sure where to throw cooler, I usually default to throwing it a little bit farther forward. Just because a lot of times it's more convenient to move forward and pick it up than have to move back and pick it up. So it's super minor. Like again, the way that you play this is very good. Moving forward this far forward here is a little bit scary because it leaves an opportunity for them to flank. Like you see this person push back, but they also have multiple people in zone. There is like a small window where you can potentially get punished here, but for the most part, it's like not too bad. But like this pick is great, but I would get cooler like in front of this person. I want this person to land and just immediately have cooler. I don't want them to have to think about, okay, I just landed and we have an opportunity to move forward, so I'm gonna like move back and stuff. Like there's like this hammer and stuff, so this play doesn't necessarily pan out, but it's just like developing those good habits. And I would always opt to like don't throw the cooler too far ahead, but I would opt to throw it a little bit farther ahead than like throwing it a little bit farther behind. In most cases. It's a very general rule that doesn't always pan out, but yeah. So we've been playing this entire beginning of the match like around the mid, which I think is fine. Yeah, I was gonna say it's a little bit scary to see our sides not painted, so I like that we're doing that. We're gonna let this play out until there's a nice stopping point, and then we're gonna go back to some of these pushes. Nice. I would definitely be looking to get cooler for your team. Probably don't need to use it quite yet. Yeah, this is a spot where we throw it super far forward. Your teammate pushes a little bit too far. I think your teammate could have slowed it down, but I think they should have stayed alive long enough for us to give them cooler. This is such an awkward spot. Ah, that's tough. Dang. Alright, so a lot of stuff happened. I'm gonna kind of go piece by piece on some of the hold that you had. There was a lot of good that I saw throughout a lot of this. You won the 100x? Nice. Congrats, congrats. Wait, what team did you choose, Sage? So in these types of situations, we can definitely move forward. The first thing that I would potentially look to do, yeah, if not boo, basically. So you're at 54% paint. If you want to move up and get like a horizontal flick up here, like this is very strong. The other idea that you can have, because I'm not sure how much your teammates are going to actually commit. I would be surprised if they're pushing as hard as they are. Like this would be a totally fine opportunity. And again, like I think the way you play it is fine. I disagree with the vertical flick. I think it probably should have been a horizontal flick, but either way, we'll get that in a second. But one idea I do want to mention here, when you're about halfway to special, you can paint this entire left side. So basically you'll just like move to this ledge, like just stay here and just get like 1 or 2 horizontal flicks. Probably not that deep. Like get like some flicks in this area and then you'll have special and you can put a cooler like here for your team, or you can put a cooler like up here for your team, depending on where they're positioned. Or sprinkler. Yeah, sprinkler. I mean, sprinkler is definitely can help. You can get a sprinkler like on top of this thing and help with this paint. That's actually, yeah, that's not a bad suggestion as well. But we're close enough to special and we have enough of like control because we just got to pick. We don't necessarily have to like force this fight. I'm okay with it, but based off of like the weapons on our team, I wouldn't necessarily, like I wouldn't look to immediately like ledge camp because these people are going to slowly like back up a little bit. And we're kind of past the point where we can like catch them, if that makes sense. I think they make a little bit of a mistake of staying on this area for as long as they do. And there is an opportunity for us to go in and get a horizontal flick and punish them. But just, again, just to give you a different idea here, when you're like over halfway to special, use these open areas, especially early in the match, to get that special. It can help with the longevity of the push. This is where I would do the horizontal flick, just over top this back area. But either way, it's like totally fine. Because this, like in this situation here, I don't want us to like spawn camp. Like this is a perfect time. All this is happening. The enemy team can't really push because we just got to pick. This is like the perfect time for us to get this paint over here. Just get our special. Like we end up getting it, but the other nice thing about getting our special fast is like if we get cooler before the enemy team's ready to push in, it communicates to our team that we have this as a resource for the retake. Because your teammates don't know how close you are to cooler. So the faster that you can just establish that you have cooler, they can plan around it a lot easier. Yeah, because you should already have cooler here. And when these people start pushing up, like one of your teammates ends up going down. Like this splash ends up going down. But you could already have given them a cooler if you prioritize getting special a little bit faster. And even if they do go down, like I don't think they should need to be playing as aggressive, especially when you have numbers. But even if they do go down up here, like they can very quickly jump back into the action. You need to prioritize cooler a little bit more. Yeah, it's totally fine. I think like it's not like, I think the way that you're playing is fine. In terms of like timing windows and stuff, especially earlier on in the match, like when there's these giant open areas of paint, or if you're like moving up, if this is like all enemy paint, if there's little areas of paint where you can get a ton of special without having to get a lot of effort, then that's where I want us to like get as much of that special as we can. Like if you had to paint So for example, like if you had to paint like this type of area where there's like like there's only little bits of paint and pockets of paint for us to get, I'm less concerned about us prioritizing special there. But like we can paint this side. I'm actually interested. We're gonna go into recon after this. I'm just interested to see how fast as a cooler or as a dynamo we can get special. But I would imagine like within 2 seconds we can probably get like a full special. You know, like we can get the other half of our special. And it's just really nice to have. Because this person, we probably KO here if this person has a cooler. The other thing that I would potentially consider, just again, based off of these comps, which this person's still coming in, but like in general, you have painters. These people will paint zone for you. This is an opportunity for you to look to drop left or for you to look to drop far right. I want you to flank and deal with those ledges because the enemy team in this spot, y'all don't have a penalty and y'all are like pushing them to KO. They're going to position very desperately and we can catch them off guard. We're playing a little bit too honest. And when we have cooler, this is a perfect time for us to like go full feed mode. So I don't like us playing as like if we had something like you're playing this like defensive protector anchory kind of dynamo very well. I just don't think this is the right role for this current situation. These people, like your shooters are going to paint the zone better. And so I'd rather you just apply pressure to these sides that they are unable to get to. If you had a slosher on your team, if you had a machine, if you had tri-slosh, if you had other rollers or something, if you see your teammates or even if you see like your wiper or like your splash or something, if they're flanking this far right side and they're playing on this top area and they're poking this area here, then you can default to this role of like, oh, they're playing more aggressive than I would expect, so I'm going to play a bit farther back. But right now your team just does not have pressure, and your weapon actually does a really good job of doing that. We're just not playing, we're not adapting to the situation as well as we could be, which is a really important skill with being comfortable in solo queue. Yeah, all this is tough. I'd probably focus on staying alive versus that, but it's all good. But overall, this whole play was really good. But if we want to KO here, finding that opportunity after you cooler to just be more aggressive. And this is where you have to adapt to like the comp that you're playing with. And in my head, I see I basically see 3 support weapons on our team, which gives me the go ahead. Oh, I can be the fun aggro, like dynamo role, and it'll actually work really well for the team here. You can apply more pressure that way than doing vertical flicks from like here and like being able to like cover some of the zone. It's not bad, but it's not optimal in this given scenario. But yeah, we have cooler. That's totally fine. Nice. And yeah, you see your splash going for that kind of side play. I would probably just wait out the hammer. I don't know if I would take it directly. I don't know how Dynamo go. Like I feel like Dynamo against hammer feels miserable. I don't know if you can go over the top. I don't know if there's like tech as a Dynamo player for you to be able to handle that, but I would just wait it out. We don't get punished too hard because it's cooler, but I think we can just play a little bit slower there. Yeah, we should be able to get cooler, just get it down. Like, we're just missing these like little timing windows. Which part of it, your teammates shouldn't be going in. Like, your teammates should just be waiting. But they don't know how close you are to cooler. And like, while they're down here, if we can get the special before they get back in, you know? Like, there's a lot of pain over here, over here. Like, if we can just prioritize getting the special, it would help us. And like, we do it here. But in this spot, again, this is like, this is very nitpicky, but like, instead of throwing the sprinkler on the wall here, just get like 1 or 2 horizontal flicks in this area. Just get your specials as fast as possible so you can time it with your teammates. Because your teammates are going to want to move in, and I want us to get our cooler out to help enable their push. We play this part a little bit too slow. We also for a moment see someone under this tent that we could have potentially helped. But if we cut off the paint of this person, like Sprinkler's not going to do as good of a job cutting off paint. And our teammates probably don't go down, or they have an easier time at least if we're able to get that paint down faster. Like your teammates are playing it a little bit too fast, but you can help mitigate the risk by getting your cooler and prioritizing getting that in that time window. Yeah, it's a tough spot. So yeah, now we're in a really tricky spot. Oh. Yeah, now we just have to go. Nice shot. Yeah, we're probably gonna... Wait, did we get the hold? No! We messed up the jump. That's so unfortunate. Alright, so really quickly, I do want to go back to the retake because there's a couple of things that I think you played, like your idea of your role when retaking was okay, but I think you played it not ideally. And if we want to look at like how do we try our best to assist in these spots. So it seems very minor. I'm going to look at this from a very top-down view because it is really looking at like the paint dynamic here. And it also helps to see where the enemy team is. So I think your teammates are a little bit hasty, like taking these kinds of fights. But in this kind of situation, as a dynamo that can get very broad paint and we're sitting on high ground so we can get that paint, is really important when you're retaking on this map to get paint around the tent area. We don't have a good, like if someone's sharking under tent, there's not a ton we can do before dropping. So while your teammates are waiting to spawn in, this happened a couple of times, but when your teammates are spawning in, start prioritizing getting this paint. This will help you and like, you know, sit on top of tent like you're doing and just get the horizontal flicks. It's just like, it should just basically probably be like 2 flicks. Again, we'll go into recon because I'm not super familiar with dynamo paint. But like vertical flick here, vertical flick here. If anyone's sharking under here, they have a harder time escaping. And they have less mobility. And it's going to be harder for the enemy team, like for other teammates to push in and help them. Prioritizing this paint is good as well. But again, as a dynamo, this is where I'd have to test it. I don't know how much of this we are able to hit from like a safe range like tent. Like we want to block off this choke area here to avoid that flank on the side, but I don't think we can do a great job. But we can paint this area, we can paint this area and this area, and I want us to focus on this so that we can get a quick special. In spots where they're like, if they're pushed up past our ramp, you might be able to move like left side. You can maybe even can play on this grate. Or you can play this left side and just like help get paint on like the ramp basically and just help stop these people and get them off of our ramp. And then when they start pushing back, that's when we can look to like reposition up to tent like we're doing here. But you know, we can just take this in this example, but you know, just based on like the adaptation and everything. Okay, I mean, that's a good example. That's a pretty good flick there. This is good. So this was an earlier retake. And again, our teammates are doing a little bit of feeding, which is a little bit unfortunate. And then Hammer, like our team actually has like kind of a hard time dealing with Hammer in certain spots. Like Splash is okay at dealing with it, but I think in certain cases we need to just avoid it. But this is another example here where like you're doing a good job of getting this paint, but we need to keep at it. Like while your teammates are still setting up, like we waste a lot of paint. That's the problem with tent is like you can't recover your paint without having like backup all the way. So we have to be really smart about how we use our paint. And this sprinkler is not as high price. It doesn't give us as much value as you would hope for in this situation specifically. Like, it's not bad paint, but I want us to be like more proactive with just like holding this. Because if we can get our special faster, these people drop with cooler and it's a little bit easier to play around it. In certain spots, we can actually push with them when they are dropping, but again, your team is very often like rushing these retakes. So I put a lot of, like, I put proper blame where, you know, where credit's due, where they deserve blame. They're rushing these retakes, which is making your life hard. But you can assist and help mitigate them, which again, solo queue, especially, you know, honestly at any rank, but especially outside of like top, like high rank stuff, people are going to mess up pushes all the time. And one way that you can help mitigate is to get your cooler, like prioritize getting your cooler as fast as possible. Because when your teammates die a little bit too fast, there's an opportunity for us to do stuff. Yeah, Junior and yeah, they're jumping in quite a bit. But this is another situation we get up here and we need to get that paint. Like we have to just play this role because no one else in our team can do a good job of being able to do it. Which we're almost able to retake at the end, but it's tough, it's tough. I think you played it very well. But there was, like, we probably could have KO'd if we got cooler out earlier, or if our teammates played differently, but we can't control our teammates. And retake, if we get cooler out earlier, we probably have an easier time, like, pushing in and stuff. Again, our teammates could be slowing down a little, just a little bit and getting specials. They're doing a lot of jumping in the beacons, a lot of jumping in, just two teammates, and, like, Junior can't really do much when they jump in. Oh, oops. So yeah, that's kind of the big things that I see. So yeah, prioritize map control. And map control specifically through painting. It has a lot of benefits just getting that paint, especially early on. But it also helps. This helps with the faster specials. The other really important thing, just, and this is something that you're not going to be able to immediately like, oh, I just need to, like, we need to adapt our role. And this is like when we're playing, especially when we're playing something like a little bit off meta, like a Dynamo, like we need to be very flexible. And Dynamo can play a very slow anchor role, which I think you kind of just, you found yourself in that role most of the game, which is like fine. There's a time and place, but there's definitely times where we can be a lot more aggro, a lot more feedy, which would be very beneficial for the rest of our team. Because we do have like shooters and stuff that can move forward, but none of these weapons have the proper kit to be able to be as aggressive as they would like to be. If this was like, if these were the vanilla versions of these weapons, then they would have bombs and proper utility to be able to push up with. They don't really have that. So we want to use their stally tools and their stally bombs for them to be the responsible ones, and then we can go in and kind of like feed. So I would like us to play around these ledges a little bit more. So, oops. So there is like an anchor. I'm just going to put this. There's anchor roll or there's aggro roll. And I think this game, we want to we want to go more aggro. There's definitely times where it's fine for us to like play it, but there's little windows where we have advantages and I want us to like be able to kind of move forward and stuff. Just so our teammates don't have to do it. And a lot of times you just kind of defaulted to like sitting back here and just like painting the zone, which your teammates will do better. And what that does is that the enemy team can sit here and they can sit here and they don't have to respect any flanks. Your Neo did a decent job of like trying to apply pressure later on through the sides, but again, their kit just isn't like ideal for it. They can definitely do it, but yeah, lock into a playstyle. Yeah, it definitely feels like you're just kind of autopiloting of like, you know, this is my comfort zone, and if you're looking to continue to improve, you want to be able to adapt to your role. Part of that is going to be like a good exercise for you is use opening, like use the beginning of the match to like decide. I'm going to say decide / like analyze. Analyze. But like at the beginning of the match, it's almost like a little bit of a scouting phase. Like you're not fighting people at the beginning. You're just like moving forward toward mid and painting and stuff. And it's really helpful if you're not already doing it. Use that time, check the map and see both teams' builds. Use that time, you know, even before you can even control your character, during the little opening animation and stuff, you get to see like both weapons, like both teams' comps. So during that time, if you're just like, you know, doing something on your computer, you're just kind of zoning out or whatever, it's really good to use that time to like, you know, visually see their weapons and visually see your weapons. And ideally, before you even start the match, you can at least have a very rough, and over time you can adapt, but just in theory of like comps alone, you know, before I watched the match, we kind of just talked through it where it's like, you know, I was able to identify, and like I'm talking through it, so it takes me some time. But if I'm in a solo queue match, like I can look at both of these two teams and just understand how the match is going to generally play out. Solo queue, you know, nothing ever works exactly like you're going to predict, but I had a pretty good idea about predicting like how this match was going to go at a very high level in like a second. Like before we actually spawn in and I start moving my character, I've already done that analysis. So once I spawn in, I can like map check, look at both teams' gear, and, you know, figure out how, like where my teammates are positioning during the opening, and then I actually adapt to like what's happening. But try to use that early time. And if you're playing Dynamo, just at the very least understand, do we have anyone that can play this aggro role? So aggro is gonna be like Slosher, Splatana, kind of. It depends. Like the vanilla version of Wiper is a lot more aggressive. This is a lot like the Deco version of Wiper is a lot more supporty. Stamper kind of goes either way. There's certain specials. So like if you're playing with ballpoint isn't traditionally like an aggro weapon, but it's like you don't have to necessarily play super aggro if you're playing with like an inkjet. If you have a ballpoint on your team, or if you have like a you know, a vanilla Tri-Slosh or something that has an inkjet with it, you can be supporty and focus on getting your special so that they're getting like you're getting that inkjet cooler synergy that's very strong in the meta currently. What else? Like some shooters, but again, it just depends, because I think like with different kits, all of these weapons can be a lot more aggro, and you can be more comfortable in the anchor role. But like all three of these here are like support weapons, just based off of their kits. And then other rulers as well. And so when you see these on your team, and again, this is like, it depends. This is like, it depends. But if you see the slosher, if you have a carbon or something on your team, then those are aggro. Sorry, this might be a little bit confusing. If you see these, then we can be in our anchor role, but these are like aggressive weapons, effectively. I'm gonna get rid of these arrows. And if you see these, you can look to support them. But when you have a Splash Neo, when you have a C Junior, when you have Wiper Deco that wants to plant beacons and wants to get missiles out, they're looking for someone to support. And that's where you want to be like the aggro role. And the best way for you to be aggressive is to, moving forward through mid is very dangerous. And that's like, you're kind of forced to play around these sides. Which is still very beneficial for you. You're following? Okay, thank you. Good hit, 2.5k. Good luck. But yeah, these are just the things that you want to identify. And this is where I don't know where you're at in where you're at currently with the game. I don't know if you are able to look at these weapons and identify that these are all support. Like you might have to work a little bit to like I'm not sure how comfortable you are looking at any given weapon and identifying like its role in a vacuum of like what it's trying to do. Like I don't know if we're at the point where we're trying to figure out what these weapons do, or if we're at the point where we know what these weapons do and we have to figure out how all of our different tools are going to come together. Because first you have to think about the main weapons, and you have to think about their bombs and also their specials. And we don't really have, we don't have an Inkjet. We don't have even a Crab. Like Tri-Strike gives us room to be able to move forward. Wavebreaker gives us room to move forward. Missiles give us room to move. So like all of these like provide, like all of their specials provide us an opportunity to move forward, but they need like a catalyst. They need some sort of weapon to be the one to push forward. And they can support you with a bunch of paint, with a bunch of bombs, but they need someone to take that more aggressive role. And that doesn't mean you just constantly are holding forward and feeding. Like you can play this anchor style and like slowly, like, you can wait until you have cooler out before you start looking to be aggressive. But like if your teammate gets a pick, and there's different parts of the match where you're able to adapt. So we'll quickly kind of just go through. Like at the beginning here, I'm totally fine with you slowing down. You could go for a flank if you wanted to, and I'm totally fine with that. But it's like all of this is fine. Anchor mode. Getting special. I do like you poking here is like really, really smart. I do really love this. And you also are able to give your teammates jumps. So like we're still anchor mode. This is totally fine. Like we get that pick. Okay, we can start to look to be aggressive. We're probably going to be a little bit anchory, which like nice pick. It's like, oh, they're 2 down. I can start moving forward. We still need to get zone though. So yeah, some of this gets a little bit awkward. Okay, our teammate gets a pick here. So our teammate pushed through. We have zone control, so we don't have to worry about that. And our teammate gets a pick. Now I can be aggressive, which you are able to end up doing. Your teammate gets 2 picks, which is awesome. You should be moving up faster, but that's fine. Your speed will improve as you continue. You don't have to be like, I'm not going to worry too much. Like, I know that your brain is like, okay, it's time for us to move forward. You'll naturally get faster as you continue playing. And like, now you can be like, we have the space to be aggressive. So if you wanted to be aggressive here, that's fine. I'm also okay with you not being aggressive because of what we were talking about, like during the actual review, where like there's a bunch of paint over here. I'm fine with us getting our specials and then we can look to be aggressive. But like we already have control of the map. And in something like zones, it's okay to just like, we don't have to like push our luck. And like with our comp, we can camp these ledges with our weapons, but we can't, unless we like wipe them again, we can't really continue to move forward. So we don't have to be like super aggressive now. Oops. So like support role here is totally fine. Again, 2 down, we want to start looking to be aggressive. We want to continue to start pushing. Because our teammate is taking a fight that they should have had a cooler for. This person's taking a fight that you could have been there for and you could have potentially helped trade with them. But like we're setting up on defense when we have like this massive advantage and we can't anchor. If you had 3 teammates that were ready to support this person, then like it's okay for you to anchor. But like, again, going back to the beginning of the match, something like a C Junior wants to anchor. They're expecting specials and rain and stuff, and they can sit back here and paint all day. Let them be the painter. You go for the aggressive plays. You could have been pushed up with this person. So there's different ways that you can approach it. You can push up with them. I'll back it up a little bit to where the actual point was. And like how to be aggressive is going to be hard. Especially you're saying that you lock yourself into a playstyle. If you're not used to the aggressive dynamo role, there's going to be a bit of a transitional period where like you're going to play the role and you're going to play it poorly just because you need reps and you need experience to be able to understand how to play it effectively. So you might go in and you might be aggressive and you're playing the correct role, but you might just feed on average, and that's okay. You have to have confidence in like whatever that you're choosing the right role. And it's just a matter of like, you know, I made the right decision, but my execution's bad because I just need time. And that's totally fine. And you might lose some points. You might drop to like 1800 or 1700 or whatever. It doesn't matter. Because over time, when you get into a spot where your team demands you to be this aggressive player, if it takes you losing 200, 300 points to build up that execution, and you can also play open and stuff to not worry about your X rank while you're practicing that. If you're Some people get really tilted and concerned about their X rank. It just depends on your mentality. You can totally do it in solo, but it's also something if you want to do it outside of solo. You know, you can work on it during Splatfest this weekend is a decent opportunity. But when you are asked to be in this type of role, you can do your best to actually execute. So yeah, when we're able to move forward here, in this kind of situation, when they have someone on top of tent, we can shark like back here. Like while we're gathering information, we can at least position here. This position, I can only pick up on the range of every weapon and how it affects you. Okay, I mean, that's still a very awesome, like, that's an important piece to it. So I'm glad that you're doing that. There's like a, shoot, I need to come up with like a checklist. I feel like Jim's probably done this on Squid School at some point, but there needs to be like a checklist of like what to do during that early phase. It seems like a lot of work to do, but I think it's an important process. But when you're looking to be aggressive, the first thing is that you're backing up behind the zone. You want to be in front of the zone. Your team has map control. You want to be in front of the zone. I don't know if you were here for the first review that we did on Hacklefish zones, but a very important concept when playing in zones is that if your team has map control, you want to be playing in front of the zone. There's some times where you'll push behind, like you'll be behind the zone. Usually it's like when you're painting specifically, but we need to be in front of the zone. There's no threats in front of us. We need to be moving in front of the zone. And like this is like the least committal place to be. And the reason why it's nice is because at any point, the high ground that people are going to play for is on the other side of the map, so you have more space and room to maneuver. But even if you do get pressured, you can drop out this way, you can drop out this way with no problems at all. So this is like the least committal aggressive position. But as the play develops, like we can rotate with our weapon and like the range and our ability to deal with ledges, we can reposition somewhere like here. Realistically, it'd probably be like right here, and we can hit anyone on top of the tent, which is really good. It's a really nice tool that it's a nice use case of getting value out of Dynamo. You can also move forward this way, so you can play around this area and like play around tent and anyone that potentially drops. Like if they drop over here, that's just free food for you, but most people shouldn't be doing this. This is just objectively like bad in like 99% of cases. But if you want to play around tent, you can do that. So like as you move, like first thing is just like take this type of position and then you start getting more info. Like the more forward you move, like the more info you can get. And this is what you need to be thinking about. Do I need to play around 10? If so, I'll probably rotate this way. You know, there's a little bit of a block here. I can move forward behind this and take cover. And like, as you're moving forward, maybe you get a horizontal flick behind here and just make sure that you check to see if there's anyone sharking around here. You know, you have the range to be able to very safely check behind the cover. So throw the paint here, make sure there's no one there. You might be able to just run past potentially, but if not, you know, if you need more time to figure it out, take this type of aggressive position. If this person starts bothering you when you're playing around this block, you know, if you're sitting back here and they're like focusing their fire on you, then we reposition back to where we were before, and we like get back to this kind of neutral aggressive state, and we figure out what we want to do next. But you know, we sit here, and if we sit here, anyone that's dropping this way, we are able to threaten. So if people start like coming off spawn and just start pushing this way, if we're sharking here and they don't know that we're here, then like we just get a free pick. And if there's enough paint, so like if you're sitting here, you can either shark here or you can opt to start painting this ramp. And the nice thing about painting this ramp is that if we can sit ourselves here, then we can watch, you know, we can catch them dropping this way, we can catch them dropping this way, and we still have the same thing where like if someone's just swimming this way, we can still catch them off guard. And we also have like this cute little angle here. So that like there's playing aggressively is really, there's a lot to it. I'm not going to be able to fully cover this, but I just want to give you general ideas if you're very uncomfortable with all of this. Spot specifically has a teammate sitting. That's where distraction helps as he comes to drop. Yeah, you can over time, like understanding how you can play with your teammates. Like there's a lot of like 1-2 kind of combinations that you can have. And again, yeah, I'm not going to be able to cover all of this fully, but I just want to give some like very general ideas of like, you know, if we're very uncomfortable moving forward here, I at least want to give like a little bit of, here's a couple of things to kind of consider of like how we develop a more aggressive plan. And at any point, and this is the important thing about being an aggressive player, being aggressive doesn't necessarily mean that we're taking fights. It just means that we're taking space. And when I talked about being the aggressive role, I continually mentioned that like at any point, we can always move back to this type of position so that we can drop out this way, or we can move back to the zone. It's easy to back up when you've already taken the space, but if you're starting back, it's harder to take that space like later on. But this is a spot where we be aggressive. And this is totally a situation where we can be sitting over here, or like sitting over here, and we can bait our splash, or we can just help get this kind of paint. Either way is fine, but you can see that this junior is like, they're more than capable of just safely painting the zone. You don't have to worry about the rain because they'll take care of that. The other nice thing about, like, if you can be the first one that's aggressive on your team, another important thing about being the aggressive role is that condition isn't the right word, but it gives the rest of your team more confidence to also move forward. Because your junior doesn't have to be back here. They do have to be back here because there's no one in front of them because they're, you know, your Neo just died. But if your Splash Neo was playing here and you were playing here, junior can sit like, I mean, they'd probably play like here just to be outside of this range. But they can play like closer forward and into the zone. And instead of being back here and all they can do is paint the zone, if they position a little bit more aggressive here, they can start throwing torpedoes at this person. They can start getting paint for you all, you know, like with the rain and everything, like it might be awkward for y'all to be able to maneuver. But if y'all take that space, then this person, it enables the junior to be able to paint your feet. So yeah, this was a spot where we could have been aggressive. And you know, even still, you have like a wiper over here. So if they do commit 3 people, for example, like so if the 2 of y'all were here and then the 3 of them push the 2, y'all can back up and then now you have support here. And you also potentially have junior support from here. And you can still like hold this space for a little bit longer. If you have to back up, that's fine. But we don't want to like give out the space for free. Enemy team's using a bunch of specials in this type of situation, so I'm okay with us just slowing down. If there's an opportunity for you to move forward, go for it. But like there's a spot for you to do this. But with your kind of wide coverage, playing against the super chumps and playing against like a brush and like the short range things that are going to be pushing through the zone, I'm fine with the way that you're playing this now. It's okay to bunker down for the time being, but we get those 2 picks, it's time for us to move forward. And obviously like playing against rain and playing against like trying to move forward through the custom jet is tough. And this is where like using this type of flank here is like perfect, because you get to avoid all of this. And again, just you have to trust that your short range shooters, like you have to trust that your 3 support weapons are gonna paint the zone, which is like what their role is designed to do effectively. Yeah, and you can see that this wiper like goes for this flank, but if this was you instead, like you can sit back here, outrange this brush, and probably get that pick for free because you take that space first. And then you could end the game. Because if you get the pick on the wiper, like you're still this annoying threat over here that can, like you don't have to get these picks on the other people that are pushing in, but you can threaten them enough so that the rest of your team, like your junior and stuff that's sitting back here, they have an easy time like painting for zone. And that's how you can close out the game in this type of situation. So again, just some general ideas. I can't give you a full like this is how you play aggro kind of like guide right now. It's just it's a very cohesive concept, but I just want to give you some pointers to give you a little bit of confidence the next time you go in and you identify, oh, I need to be the more aggro person in this spot. You know, it's not a binary thing. It's not like, oh, I'm the anchor, or oh, I'm the aggressive player. Different situations depending on who's using specials, depending on if you're retaking or holding. You know, there's a lot of conditions that are gonna change being super aggressive versus like this kind of middle ground versus being very anchory. That role is going to be flexible throughout the match, and over time this is where the reps are going to be important for you to understand that like the balance, like that balance is hard and it takes time, but knowing the other roles that something like a dynamo does very well will help you quite a bit. Yeah, taking space, not taking... Yeah, for sure. No, I 1000% agree. Like, a lot of times, because you're the farthest forward, you will get into engagements, but yeah, you don't have to, like, take fights. People usually associate being aggressive with feeding, but yeah, taking space is, like, the important part. If we just had a more aggressive presence in a lot of these scenarios, there's so many indirect effects that help the rest of the team. And it makes the enemy team really difficult for them. So, yeah, like... These stats are really nice, but like you make the juniors' life harder because you don't create space for them. You're like trying to do the juniors' role. Like you can do different, you have more flexibility with what you can do based off of the constraints in this match. The junior has like less flexibility. And the fact that you're like bumping up with what they're trying to do, like part of the reason, which again, this person jumped in like a million times. So like they're going to feed regardless, but they had a harder time. Like they probably felt forced to be more aggressive. And I think they just also had bad jumps, like, you know, just the rank. But part of the reason why this looks so bad is because we didn't help enable them. They need someone to enable and they didn't have it. Same thing with this. I think this person did okay, but you know, they're probably like, they totally could have been like, instead of 6 and 7, they could have been like 9 and like 5. And y'all KO, and then their stats look okay if you like look to be more aggressive. Same thing here. I think your wiper played pretty disciplined. They got beacons out. They played pretty nice. They watched the sides, so like they did a good job finding unique support roles of like holding the sides as best as they could. But yeah, like the way that we play can influence these types of stat lines. So that's just like an interesting perspective when like looking at these stats. Like there's some interesting things that you can dissect. Yes, this person was jumping in. Yes, they were feeding. But part of the reason why they struggled a lot was because we didn't take the roles that we needed to be. And we just didn't have a frontliner as in general. Like, of course, the short range thing, like if no one's playing frontline, except for like this person's trying to frontline poorly, and not because they did bad. I think they actually had some really nice plays mechanically. They had some nice decisions. Like they got a couple of picks on tent and they like move forward properly, but like their weapon just doesn't enable them as much. But both of these players are a lot more comfortable if we go more aggressive. And that's an interesting thing to kind of analyze when looking at like these stats at the end. Yo, what's up, Eggs? I hope you never find my name in a bother. Come on. This is all learning. I'm not here to like blame anyone. I'm just helping people understand. Because there's so many times, yo, thank you for the follow. Appreciate you. 90% of my complaints to people saying they have a better KD than me in a match. Yeah, I think that's just the frustrating thing that people just get into the habit of. They're like, oh, I'm protected from criticism because I had good stats and stuff. I'm like, yes, this person, in order to go 4-10, you have to make some pretty bad mistakes. But we make their life very difficult. And there's so many times where someone, I'm not saying you, Cursed, I'm just saying like a lot of competitive players will post a screenshot of this match and be like, man, look at me, I'm so good at this game, and oh my gosh, my teammates are so bad. I need to feel good, and I need people to tell me that I'm good at the game, and I'm gonna cope and not think about the game as a whole. I don't want to dissect the game and really analyze stuff. I just want to feel good because I lost points because of this game. So, 10K channel points, let's go. I need to figure out what to do with those. I really do. I need to get the sound notifications and stuff back. But anyways, hopefully that helps. If you have any questions, just let me know. But I think for you specifically, Cursed, I think, like, I want you to practice being more aggressive, just in general. I want you to run like comeback, like QR or something. Like just run like an aggro QR build with Dynamo and focus on that taking space aspect of it. Yeah, I can work. So I can get the sound alerts set up. I just don't know what I want those sound alerts to be. I have to figure that part out of like what I actually want it to be. But yeah, just try to be aggressive, like play that more aggressive role, get comfortable with it. But in the meantime, at the beginning of the match, understand what, like, do that exercise before every single match. You know, what are my team's comp versus what are the enemy team, and like how do we match up? And some of it is the range, like what you mentioned before of the range of like this person outranges me, but I do a good job of outranging everyone else. Wiper might be a little bit difficult, but like that's a really important piece to it. So like definitely keep doing that. But we want to continue to add on. What does our special economy look like compared to, or not economy, but like what do our specials look like compared to theirs? Like this brush isn't going to get as much value from Zipcaster. And like all they really have, and like we saw at this game, like they got a lot of value from Hammer. That's like really the only good special they had. Versus like we have missiles, like we have like our specials this game were like so good. And we like Cooler also enables you to be more aggressive. Spreadsheet of what I need to look for. I really need to like get that stuff situated. This is like a perfect excuse to like be able to help someone, like, you know, like help out in this type of situation. But no, it is something that you should definitely do. And if you have any questions, this is like, I would totally, like if you were in like, you know, whether it be the replay Discord or whether it be in like my personal Discord, either way. But if you just like post a screenshot of like something like this, if you're confused about like, you know, this was this comp versus this comp, and I don't know, like if you had a question, I'm not really sure exactly how this, like, I don't know if I analyzed this properly. like I'm happy to give feedback. You know, at any point I can look at a screenshot and, you know, whenever I have free time, I can just give you some feedback of like how I kind of analyze stuff. Obviously reviewing it is a whole other subject, but like if you want to practice this exercise, like I can help. I'm sure other people would be, you know, would love to give that advice. I think it's a really important exercise, and it just takes a lot of repetition to kind of get there. And like so the other thing I want to say is like be patient with yourself when you're trying to play that aggressive play style that it seems like you probably don't do a ton with Dynamo, but it can be very useful in a lot of situations. Give yourself patience. You're going to feed, you're going to have bad games, your stats are going to be worse, you're going to lose more games on average. That doesn't mean that it's a failure. It just means that you need time. Things are going to get worse before they get better. But overall, it'll make you a better player. You know, it might lose you 200 points of X rank now, but you know, in a month, or you know, by the end of the season or at the start of the new season, you're going to be a much better player, and you'll achieve those higher powers and being more comfortable in these types of roles. Same thing with the analysis. Is Twitch dying? Maybe. I don't see any issues on my end, but I wouldn't be surprised. The other thing that I do want to mention with that exercise that we're talking about of like analyzing the comps, I mentioned that like if I see this team versus this team during the opening, like before I can control my character, I've already come up with this analysis. You're not going to be able to do that immediately. So don't feel like they're not there anymore. Oh, yeah, maybe Twitch exploded. But when you're looking at the comps, it's not something that you need to have that answer immediately. Like obviously there's only so much time in the opening, so it's nice to do it as fast as you can, but like early on you might not have a great answer, but at least keep practicing it every match so that you slowly build up that skill. It might take you like a full minute, and like, so you know, you can't really think about this stuff while you're like actually like in fights and stuff. So like at a certain point your brain has to like go from being like analytical and theoretical about the match to like, okay, we're playing in the game now. So you know, when you do have the time, you know, so like opening is a good time to think about this stuff. So like any time that you die and you get splatted is another great time. Like you're not controlling your character, you can think about these things. And like those times where you like, when you can like mindlessly paint for special, that's another time that like your brain doesn't have to be as active on the match and you have more time to think about these things. Because you should be thinking about this stuff like during the match, like when things are happening, but like over time. So ideally, like during the opening, you can think about all the theoretical stuff, like that's your end goal. And then during like deaths while you're painting for special, when you have like downtime, when you don't have to really think, that's where you want to be thinking about what have my teammates been doing, you know, how can I best support them? What are the enemy doing? How can I exploit one of their weaknesses? How can, you know, where can I fit into this match to like have a bigger impact? But if you need to use that time to focus on the analytical stuff, that's fine as well. You can also do that. Like the nice thing that I was talking about with like the exercise or whatever of like checking stats and whatnot, you can do that at any point. So like, you know, after you play a session, you can go back and like just work through it. Like over time, you want to try to be faster with it. Like your end goal is to be faster and faster with it, but you don't have to like, you're not going to get there immediately. It's going to take time. But real quick, last thing I want to check is just, I want to look at like general painting on this map. Because I don't fully know like how this goes. I wanted to check painting on 10. I wanted to check painting the sides when we were looking to get special. So the first thing from back here, Like getting this paint is pretty important to allow your teammates to be able to move. And then you can start painting a little bit more forward. I'm sure there's more, I'm sure Dynamo mains are cringing at me for painting like this. But like, you know, getting paint back here, like this is really important paint because you can paint behind anyone that's sharking here. Like you can paint for them from a very safe distance right here. You know, getting paint behind this ledge, a lot of times people love to shark like right here. So you may have to get like, you know, this is like paint that you can get that's pretty nice. The more broad paint that we were talking about, again, when you're up here, this paint, this paint, this paint, that's not great. I'm sure you can optimize, but you know, the biggest thing is like focus this paint over here in these areas so that your teammates, so like if there's someone sharking, like because you can see with all that paint, like if there's someone sharking here, we can't dislodge them. But if they don't have, you know, if they're on the enemy team, like they don't have anywhere that they can escape to. So at least if there's someone sharking here and like your teammates start dropping and this person gets like a pick on one, if they have nowhere to escape to, hopefully at least your other like another teammate can trade this person. So yes, this person might get an initial pick. But if we can like pick them and get that splat back and have even numbers, at least your team can continue to move forward and you have like all of this paint. But yeah, it's like while you're over here, you can, you know, get this kind of paint. Oh yeah, I wanted to check tent paint. And it's gonna be hard to see because I've already painted. I wish they had a clear paint button in recon mode. It would make my life so much easier. But you can get quite a bit of paint actually over here. You might even be able to do like a vertical flick. But yeah, you can actually cover that area while you're sitting up there if you need to. But then when you start moving forwards, I'm gonna just use this. So when we start moving forward, like this is the spot where like we had control of mid. And this is where like this area was basically open for paint because it was early on in the match. And this is just where like you do that and then you're chilling. This is like the 50% paint that we 14 game win streak. Yo, that's crazy. You know, that literally took, I mean, how long? 6? No, oopsie. We'll do it at 0. 1. I am so bad at painting. I'll do it 5. I am not a roller player. But getting these 3 paints, it's like 3 seconds. And we're already in position. And we get 50% paint in the situation. Same thing when we're in this spot. We can get paint here. Oh my goodness. Like we can get the broad paint if we need to. So if we want to be like more anchory, we can get the broad paint. We can also paint like this side over here. And again, I'm sure Dynamo mains are cringing at the way I'm trying to paint. You can use, you know, sprinklers and stuff if you would like. I really like the sprinkler spots that you kind of just had throughout the match. It was very creative. But you know, when you're trying to be more aggressive, again, I was saying you can sit in this type of spot. So like you can check areas very safely as Dynamo because of your range. So you can check people behind if there's anyone sharking here. If there's anyone sharking like here, it's like very common for people to want to drop from this type of area. Yo, welcome in, Funny. Hello, hello. But when you're looking to be more aggressive, like, you know, you can still get paint. Like if you're sitting underneath this type of ledge, you can get like just general paint around here. If there's someone sharking behind this ledge, you can like hit them. This is a nice thing about like your ledge camping is that there's always an opportunity for you to like get picks on these people. Obviously you have to be careful not to, oops. I'm not a Dynamo player. I'm so silly. Something like that. I'm sure you know this better than I do. But yeah, these are the things that we want to check. And like we can get this paint. And if there isn't an opportunity to move forward, then like, you know, we're holding here and like we can back up a little bit, get some information. And like if they don't respect it, if there's someone that's just moving on the ramp, then yeah, let's get this free pick. But if they're like painting and getting specials and they pop, you know, if they pop a crab up here, or if they use a special over here, then it's like, okay, let's move back behind this cover. Let's play over here. You know, let's play back here. We can drop and jump to our teammates if we have to, or even jump back to the base. Like, that's another nice thing about Cooler, is that you can take these aggressive positions, and when you try to jump out with Cooler, well, I mean, I can just show it. It's just like immediate. It's so fast. So if you're dropping off of a ledge, it's immediate. And that allows you to still stay alive even when you're trying to be aggressive, you know? Maybe you're camping these ledges or something. Like, this isn't probably not the best place for you to ledge camp, but you know, if you like, let's say you're pushing aggressive for this and you get stuck in a weird spot, if you have Cooler, you jumped out already and like you're safe. And that's where, like, you know, you're using all of the different parts of your kit in order to get like as much value as possible. But this is like, that's where creativity comes in, and I'm not creative because I don't have the reps on Dynamo. I do have a Dynamo player on my team. They would certainly have that knowledge, but I haven't built it up myself, so it's hard for me to really fully say. But hopefully that helps. You have a vid for either of you? Awesome. That is a great segue to, if you would like to submit a review, it is totally free. Anyone's able to do it. All you have to do is join the Discord and post it in the replay channel. And yeah, we'll definitely get to it. This weekend, I don't really want to play too much Fest. So we're going to be catching up. There's a little bit of a queue for replays currently, but we're going to continue to do more and more and more. So I would say all of the replays that are currently out there will definitely get covered this weekend. And anyone that submits replays to like over the next like day, or like the next probably like the next 2 or 3 replays will definitely be submitted, or like I'll definitely be able to go over them this weekend. But if some of your if there's enough of a demand at a certain point, like we'll definitely get to all of them. But like I said, the mid-season patch is coming, so at some point we'll have a little bit of a cutoff of replays, just so people don't submit replays and then they can't get that stuff. You know, I don't want anyone to submit something and it not get reviewed. I still feel miserable from that. 17-0, let's go. You know the date of the patch? I don't think they've released it, but we're getting close to the mid-season, so we should be hearing news probably after the Splatfest. I would imagine sometime next week. We'll probably have the patch sometime like toward the end of next week, I would guess, or like early next week or something. But we probably won't hear anything until after the everything. So anyways, that is all that I have. I need to get some sleep because I have a busy day tomorrow, and like I said, I do want to have like a longer stream. I'll probably start in like the later afternoon and kind of hopefully go for a while. So yeah, we'll keep chugging along, but appreciate all of the replays, appreciate you all being here, and yeah, we keep moving. Appreciate all the support, appreciate the conversations. I initially really enjoyed doing the reviews, and I imagined at some point I would be like tired of them, or at some point I would be like, you know, oh, I need to like stop doing them for a bit. But like every time that like we start getting into it, it really just continues to like increase my enjoyment of the game and my excitement of the game. So I appreciate all of you for that, and hopefully it's something that we can keep continuing. In the meantime, let me send you all off. I don't know what Kristen's up to. They're probably doing something Splatoon related. They're probably doing Splatfest things. Kristen's a very funny Splatoon streamer. They do a lot of Salmon Run, and they play a lot of times with like viewers and stuff. So if you're interested in Salmon Run, or if you're just interested in and that you can definitely go in there. But chat is always funny, and it's always a good time, always good vibes being in a Kristen stream. So definitely, if you don't know them, definitely give them a follow, give them a give them a look, and yeah, they chose mint chip, so they have good taste. But anyways, yeah, like I said, I'll be back tomorrow, and yeah, appreciate you all. Talk to you all soon. Later.